there for you whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same, or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. We water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. 'Cause we're better together. Better as one. 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 Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. Grow a little closer, we're water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. Cause we're better together. Better as one. 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 why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye?
nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now.
can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. Through water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. 'Cause we're better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. Grow a little closer, we're water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. Cause we're better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one.
disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye?
Ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming. We got nothing stopping us now. Ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming. We got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming. Ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming. We got nothing stopping us now.
ممكن يفعل اللاعب الاخير امام اللاعبين كثار يعملها مؤمن ولا ما يعملهاش هي اليمين ولا مروان بين يلبط روت الهادي حد مني ما تكونش في الاحضان يعطيها تكون هي للاحلام.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is our second day right here on the second phase for the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall 2022 season. And we're back again with all the action the Africa region has to offer. Now, on day one, we had Titans absolutely dominating, landing themselves 100 points in just 4 games. And now today, we're going to be watching and waiting to see whether or not we're going to be seeing the teams who stepped up significantly in the latter parts of last week as well as yesterday, and whether or not they'll be able to continue with that momentum that they were building up through the games moving into today. And that could potentially then signify that these teams here are meant, or well, rather that they mean business.
Absolutely massive business. You know, they are here to take the lead. But of course, we know Desert Flame and of course Darkness stepped up yesterday in a massive way compared to their performances from last week. We saw a very different side of them coming through into yesterday. And of course, over and above that big step up from these teams, we also had the likes of Leaders Esports following in suit from last week's performance with a massive dominating performance, picking up 19 eliminations on our last Erangel of yesterday. And we even add on top of that, we've got the likes of One Round, the likes of TEAMLAG, my voice going away, and Seoul Esports joining the fray, showcasing that they are here to take the next lead. And hopefully, well, they'll continue that.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolutely exciting day. But of course, we'd love to hear what our viewers are thinking and what their predictions are going to be coming through for today. Let us know what you're hoping to see and, of course, what your team is that you are going to be shouting it out for today, screaming at your devices at the top of your lungs. Be sure to hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on TikTok. You can see the links right there. And of course, be sure to include the hashtag PUBG or PMPL Africa. That's the short version for the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa, but it is going to be a hashtag PMPL Africa. So really looking forward to seeing what everyone's predictions are, and of course, to see who those teams are that are going to be receiving a lot of love. Because as we know at this point, right, looking at the competition is the teams, they need as much as they can find.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, having to fight up against Titan Esports, who put on a 100-point game in a single day of play, definitely we need to give some support to the rest of the teams, because they are going up against a very, very high bar that has been set already.
Yep, and of course, speaking about that high bar, we are going to be taking a look at our format here to see, and just review us, what the changes are coming through into this season. Of course, as you can see over towards the left-hand side, rather, we've done away with Super Weekends. We are just down to 5 days of action, all 20 teams competing against each other. And at the end of this week's 5 days, our top 12 teams will be playing an additional game over on towards Livik. And as we saw, that is the opportunity for a few additional points to be garnered.
Absolutely. Just, you know, a little bit of an extra boost to your points that you've already garnered from this week of play. We saw VST especially making use of that in last weekend's Livik game. They actually took the winner chicken dinner, and because of that, they themselves up just a tad to get a little bit more from their bonus points of the first phase.
Yep, and of course, speaking about those bonus points, we are going to be taking a quick look to see how the teams are able to kind of bring in those points, right? So based on their performance in that first week, they'll receive up to 20 placement points, depending, of course, on where they ended up. I said placement points, but I mean bonus points. The same happens in week 2. The same happens then, of course, in week 3. And we also look at the overall ranking across all 3 weeks to award the teams an additional amount of placement points. So the team sitting at the top of the list, team number 1 out of 20, walks away with those 20 bonus points, and it trickles all the way down where the team who finds themselves sitting over in 20th position will get awarded that 1 bonus point. So there is an opportunity for the teams to get up to a total of 80 points. And as we know, moving into the finals, those are the points that the teams are going to be starting the finals with.
Absolutely. And in the best case scenario, we can take a look at 80 points being up for grabs, but the team's definitely going to make those final pushes. And of course, why are they here? Why are we here, DK, in the first place? The teams have to be competing for something.
Yeah, it is going to be to play for that prize pool. And, you know, by utilizing the bonus points, that could give the teams a little bit of a head start moving into the finals. Because we can see that first place being worth $10,000. Of course, all teams participating in the league stage will be awarded that $2,500 for being here and gracing us with their absolute magic. And that, of course, all then forms part of our total prize pool, which is $150,000, and a nice increase from what we saw coming through in the previous season.
Absolutely, just showcasing how the talents themselves have increased. Of course, the prize pool has to just, you know, join them alongside that massive bolster from the previous season. Moving in from spring into our fall season, we've already seen teams showing massive improvements, bringing in performances we were not ready for. I mean, we start the week with new teams such as VST and Titans running away with the show, and then once again in the first day of our second week, who's the one that steals the show? It's Titans with that 100-point game.
Yeah, well, we know how they got there, right? They were utilizing the point structure, which we are going to be taking a quick look at as well. Of course, stealing the show there with the chicken dinner upon chicken dinner just in that very first day. As we can see then, that is worth 15 points. So quite a bit of, you know, leverage being brought through by utilizing those placement points. But they balanced it out with the utilization of the 1 point being awarded per elimination as well. And once we can take a look at our overall rankings a little bit later on, we'll see that they are sitting on that beautiful OCD satisfying point structure. You know, 50 eliminations, 50 placement points, and this is how they got there.
It's too good. It literally is one of the best scores. I think we at least had another team rivaling in that in terms of the balance brought from to eliminations, but Sitting at the top and sitting in the best possible fashion, Titans really showcased a different level of perfection yesterday. But let's take a look at the teams. Of course, as we know, they have shuffled a little bit from the previous week into their new respective groups. And so far, obviously, we know Titans topping Group B, but there are a few other respective teams that have really been showcasing some fantastic performances.
Yep, there definitely have been quite a few teams looking to step it up, and we have several ways to break this down. Of course, we know our overall standings. We have the players there from Titans sitting up in that pole position, but just looking at the performances we had coming through just yesterday, it is the players then from Leaders Esports as well as Soul Esports joining them in the show of performance. Right, Leaders really bring in quite a substantial showing, especially in the later stages of yesterday. They just kind of started to find that absolutely amazing rhythm, and it just showcased so beautifully out on the games itself.
Absolutely. And that rhythm, that consistency, whatever you want to call it, the momentum that the teams are bringing into these games, that has really been showcasing a great bolster to their overall rankings and a great boost into those bonus points where we allocate them at the latter of the week. And looking at this already, Titans, they've started off on a fantastic foot. We mentioned that there were a few teams that were looking to catch up to them. I mean, Slime 4KT at one point looked like the only team that had an answer to the aggression from Titans, but then Leaders stepped up with that 19 elimination game, literally in the last map, just to, end it off there and say, hey, you can't forget about us just yet.
Yeah, well, of course, looking to see where the teams ended up after that very first day. Here is that beautiful OCD placement from Titans, right? They took that pole position with 2 winner chicken dinners across 4 matches, resulting in 50, 50, and then 100. That is absolutely amazing to see. But as you've mentioned, right, Leaders Esports really coming up with quite a show there, locking in those 19 eliminations in that final match. And that, in fact, is actually, I believe, the most eliminations in a particular game right here in this season of the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa. So it's great to see that potential lying within these teams. But last week we were asking and hoping to see that improved performance coming through from Soul Esports. Moving into second week, that is exactly what they look to bring to the table.
Yeah, it was really good to see Soul Esports stepping up immediately. We did see a little bit of that dominating performance leading through, I believe, to Saturday and Sunday. We just had them step up, get a great game there towards Miramar, and continue to stay somewhat consistent. But what I'm also loving is the fact that we're seeing the likes of TEAMLAG up in 5th place. As we know, TEAMLAG also one of the new faces, the new names to work with here on PMPL Africa. They're only new to us, in terms of PMPL Africa stage, but they've obviously been putting in the work and bringing in that experience to make sure that they step up this week. With that 38-pointer, it's looking really close overall. I would say, from second down to the rest, because Titans, again, just a massive leap in that first day.
Yeah, quite a bit of a leap coming through there. And of course, as we move into our second page, just so we see the rest of our teams, right? Slime 4KT surprisingly not sitting much further up that leaderboard, having a little bit more of a challenging run coming through that very first day. But we're expecting to see Slime really looking to double those efforts moving into today's performances, as we are going to be going through a Miramar heavy day, which we'll be taking a look at a little bit later on. But as we have it, right, Arab Golden also situated right there alongside them. I'm still trying to hope. I'm still rather hoping to see the players from Arab Golden also finding that absolutely amazing rhythm and just pushing forward. Because if we look at the point distribution we have for them at the time there, you can see that they've only been able to find 5 eliminations. So far, the positional play has really been working out phenomenally for them, but not yet in a position where they've been able to capitalize on the aggression as well. The same goes for Team Myth as well as the players coming through from Wave Esports.
Yeah, it is looking a little bit mismatched in terms of the focus that has been placed by these teams. I mean, even Slime 4KT, as we know, we had a Miramar yesterday where Koa was already on 7 eliminations and running away with the rest of the team, but those points aren't quite reflecting that just yet. But as we take a look at our last page, of course, these are the teams that have a little bit more pressure on their backs after the first day of play. It's Virtual Gaming, Zero Tolerance Skills, Legends of War, and Mad Knight. Now, for Zero Tolerance and specifically Legends of War as well, they found themselves in a similar position at the end of last week, but they brought in that final push moving into Saturday and Sunday. Once again, we saw the teams really aggressively running for that top 12 placement to get themselves into that final map of Livik. And I believe that that ability is still there for these teams. Again, the scores don't quite really, actually help to prove that. But I still think that Zero Tolerance and Legends of War are just on the cusp of making those plays and bringing us the performance that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, they found quite a lot of momentum coming through in that final day of the first week. So hoping to see them now just look to build on that and just push through and just gain, even more of that. But of course, we also have to give a big shout out to our sponsors, right? So first up, we need to give a big shout out to Monster Energy, our official energy drink partner for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues. And hopefully that will trickle through to the players themselves as well, right? Bring in those monstrous performances as they are going to be stepping into a map that requires a lot of energy. It is going to be Miramar that we are going to be focusing on a little bit more excessively here today, if that's the right word to use. But, you could always do with a little bit of extra there. And then, of course, we also need to give a big shout out going out to Oppo. So, Born to Win, welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much-loved Reno 7 series. Now, speaking about gamer modes, we are getting closer and closer to our players having to engage their gamer mode on before jumping into our very first map of the day. But speaking of those maps, of course, we need to take a bit of a look and see when our map rotation for today is going to be.
Yeah, and you mentioned it already. It's a little bit of an excessive Miramar day. We've got 3 Miramars lined up for these teams, so you can bet your socks that every single team is going to have enough Miramar for the day. Of course, just in between that Miramar heavy day, we've got some Sanhok and Erangel just to break up the tension, to break up that long distance and dry altitudes, and give the team a little bit, the teams at least, a little bit of an opportunity to see other grasses on the other side, just a tad more greener.
Definitely on Sanhok, it is much greener, as we know.
Impressively,
Depending on where you are in Erangel, it could also be quite luscious at some particular points, right? But this is also going to be that opportunity for teams like we saw coming through from last week, Desert Flame and Darkness, that have already been performing exceptionally well coming into this week. Now looking to kind of double down on their efforts, right? We know the players from Desert Flame being one of those teams historically being absolutely proficient when it comes to the performances required over on a map like Miramar. So maybe today could be that day where they just look to capitalize on the momentum, on that rhythm, and just push as hard as they can to solidify their points. Because as we know, right, bonus points are up for grabs once again at the end of this week. So the teams could be quite well rewarded for that. But it's also going to be that opportunity, as we pointed out, right? The players then from Zero Tolerance and Legends of War to now continue that push, right? They've already started to show a little bit of that emphasis coming through. But we want to see a lot more of a solidification of that coming through in today's games.
Yeah, for Zero Tolerance specifically, I mean, prime example in terms of just adapting to what the rest of the teams are showing. We knew that Titans, they love that northwestern location in terms of the trailer park drop, and they would move generally towards that western part of Miramar, down generally into Zero Tolerance's position, and then it didn't quite go the way that Zero Tolerance would have wanted. Coming into the Miramar yesterday, we immediately saw them shake that up and take a different approach to their drop sites, a little bit more towards the northeastern side, completely just avoiding Titans and their current drop locations to ensure that they already fix whatever mistakes or whatever circumstances landed them in that position in the first place. So already we're seeing that adaptation coming through from some of the teams. We saw that with Super Young Stars and Virtual Gaming. Again, the nemesis that keep finding each other. We saw that coming through from Desert Flame, moving into Sunday and yesterday's games, picking up a much more consistent and a fantastic performance than what we've seen in the first week.
Yeah, so that's going to be leaving quite a bit to be desired moving into today's performance, right? Hoping to see the teams really rising to the occasion, also rising to the standard and that kind of expectation that they've created coming through that very first week. Already yesterday, quite a few teams we had stepping up and just toppling the kind of guesstimation of what we could have for them coming through. But today we look to see whether or not we will have that trend continue and potentially hoping to see, as we've mentioned already, the teams that are yet to accomplish that, to bring that through, and it's going to be no other choice than to try and bring that into a little bit of that Miramar action, as we are going to be hopping straight into the plane to see where the flight path is going to be taking us. We see the beautiful Torea Homana positioned down below, and as we make our way further forward, we can see that flight path, of course, is going to be stopping all the way down towards Los Higos. So very, very centralized flight path to start the day off with.
But unfortunately, we won't have Super Young Stars, VST, Triple Esports, and Mad Knight joining us on this first Miramar of the day. They will have to wait until at least Sanhok to start showing off their prowess. But moving into this one, I am very curious to see once again how that Titan Zero Tolerance is going to actually pan out. Already I'm seeing Zero Tolerance just beeline for Campo Militar, which is again the secondary drop location that they've been taking as of late. So it's good to see that we're still seeing somewhat of a consistent performance for these teams bringing in their stratagems into this week, that it is slightly different to what we saw last week, but it is different enough to cause the rest of the opponents to just question, okay, well, what do we need to expect next?
Yes, I mean, I have to agree with you on that one. It is a slight bit of a change up, but I think that is kind of the exciting part coming into this, right? As we did take a quick look at the scores, the overall scores for this phase, for this week, there is a 92-point difference between where Darkness is situated, or not, yeah, not Darkness, sorry, the players coming in. Well, that was the players from Mad Knight, my bad, right? Sitting at in that 20th position. Of course, then looking at that in comparison to where we see the players from Titan coming through. So, yes, you've pointed out that Mad Knight, they're not going to be participating in this very first match of the day, but that just emphasizes how much more work and focus they need to put in once they join us moving into that second game. So, a lot of opportunities lies ahead for the teams now to try and step up, right? Legends of War, this is going to be the opportunity, seeing that they already find themselves situated in that center zone alongside the players there from Blackjack.
Absolutely. So, I mean, some potential hot drop action. We did hear a couple of gunshots just firing off as the teams are landing in their preferred locations. As you can see, Blackjack, Legends of War, in particular, they're close for comfort at this point in time. If you take a look at the map here towards Los Leones, we do see that the entirety of both teams are towards this location. So it's not a case of, okay, well, there was a bit of a miscommunication. One dropped, somewhere where they weren't supposed to. It is a full-on hot drop for Los Leones. And right now, I mean, I'm liking the positions coming through from Blackjack, at least, in terms of how spread out they are. We've got two, at least forwards, two scouts, however you want to see it, from Legends of War, a little bit closer to this location and able to get some information regarding Blackjack.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a challenging position for Legends of War to play, because Blackjack, they are well, this is their preferred location, right? We know that if the flight path allows it, that is exactly where they're going to be heading in towards. So definitely quite a bit of an exciting challenge lies ahead for Legends of War, looking to see if they can step up and potentially topple the players from Blackjack. But it is Los Leones, it is quite the vast area to play in, so finding those angles and those positions are going to be quite a bit of a challenge, aside from going toe-to-toe with Blackjack as well. But as we now look on towards the rest of our lobby, we see the players here from 1 million also then being situated in their usual location, all the way over in towards that Alpozo region. They're going to be going about their looting business, getting themselves situated and sorted. And it seems like they could have quite a comfortable rotational pathway to move at least into the edge of zone. There's going to be quite a bit of a challenge coming through to get themselves situated much closer towards that center zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, taking a look at the majority of the teams where they did drop, they are finding themselves majority towards that southern part of Miramar. Not quite, I mean, coastal line South Miramar, but very close to Los Leones, Bocado, and Chimacera as we continue. So it's more the northern teams that are going to have that longer rotation. 1 million, I feel like, should be all right. They already have Lazy Boy scouting out a fantastic location and rotation into the zone, a little bit closer here towards, between Montenegro and Power Grid. So they have that option. They have that pathway that they can make use of already. The rest of the teams, such as Zero Tolerance, all the way up into Campo Militar, or, if we're taking a look at One Round, who just opted for that immediate drop. And even Arab Golden there towards La Cabriera. I'm not going to say that will be up to you. You can fix it after this. But those three teams, I would say, warrant the most amount of worry, as they are also the slowest to rotate, considering that 1 million have already made their movement into the zone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the rotational speed, right? Especially if you are situated so far away from the zone, you need to put a lot more emphasis on prioritizing that positional play, right? Trying to get yourself well ahead of that blue zone, because even though Miramar is quite the vast map and the blue zone doesn't do all too much damage within those first initial few phases, it's definitely something that you want to try and evade as much as you possibly can, trying to keep that health bar as high as you can get it. But now, speaking about looking to keep high health bars as high as you can get it, it is going to be Wave and the players here from Desert Flame just rotating up alongside each other. I'm liking this disengage coming through from Desert Flame, not hanging back in San Martin. Instead, they're going to be looking to get themselves situated much closer towards that more centered zone.
Absolutely. Right now for Wave, it is Rhino that is in the hot seat as the scouts for the party of Wave moved up right up ahead of Desert Flame. So we'll have to just keep an eye out on the elimination feed to see if Desert Flame will actually make that rotation and find the angle on towards Rhino, as they are trying desperately to just catch up with the rest of the group, safety and numbers and all that. The rest of the team's moving closer and closer towards Los Leones, which we saw previously was home to Legends of War and Blackjack Esports, who were having a bit of a stay down competition, but not engaging in anything just yet. Virtual Gaming even taking a much wider approach from Tumasera, and we've mentioned this before, DK, that the teams that we've seen with these sort of zones, since we've been favoring the southwestern position of Miramar so much in the latter phases of Miramar, they tend to have that advantage that they take up that height sooner rather than later, especially if the zone shifts in that direction.
But I think the southern shift that we see on the zone, or the southern position coming through for the zone, is going to be resulting in quite an interesting potential for these teams. But we are yet to see where this next phase will be locked into. As we can see, right, teams starting to push further and further forward in anticipation. They want to get themselves a little bit more centralized, because then once that zone moves, they could already be included within that next phase. They're not having to be
Yeah.
too majorly concerned about finding a good secure rotation. But we are yet to see where the players here from Lag are also going to be looking to venture up in towards. And a similar kind of approach coming through there for Titans. We see them situated down south, but they've now opted for a little bit more of that, 2-1-1 kind of split, with Teak and P6 relatively close towards Los Higos. But this could be that opportunity now for the players from Wave to find a few trades, maybe on towards Myth.
Yeah, Myth moving into this rotation. Hopefully, they will be able to get that information and just keep the wheels moving. Just don't get involved at this time and place, because Wave, they've set themselves up beautifully here just on the outside of La Bendita. So you don't really want to face them off. I mean, as you can see, D3S already hitting some beautiful sprays there on towards Ramsey, who's just trying to get away.
Oh, yeah, but as we know, the answer to that is no. Ramsey will not make it up that hillside. Pretty good attempt being brought through, though. But D3S will continue to rain down the chaos, looking to find a little bit of damage and potentially pop these vehicles as well. As you can see, that vehicle, it's completely engulfed in flames. And there we go. The explosion comes through, but that is not going to result in sufficient damage to take them down. So we could have a little bit more of a continuation coming through, at least from the side of Myth. But this is the opportunity for the players there from Wave to continue to push forward. And of course, speaking about pushing, we are seeing a few of those hits coming through on towards Rhino. But we also then have the players from Zero Tolerance and Darkness about to get into a bit of an altercation.
You always steal my thunder. I was just about to bring that up. But yeah, definitely. Zero Tolerance chose to make that earlier rotation from Campo Militar into the eastern portion of the zone. And unfortunately, that was just behind Darkness. And now to join and add on to the pressure, we got Soul and One Round making a similar rotation and potentially finding themselves in a similar location, as we have Zero Tolerance now trying to spread out, get some more cover, just trying to cover more ground and more angles, as a lot of these teams are moving into that eastern portion. So keep your eyes peeled on the feeds for that. The rest of the zone, however, is going to favor, well, the rest of the lobby, as it just focuses there towards Chumacera and, of course, Los Leones.
Yeah, as I was saying before, the team's not having to really be too concerned about locking in good rotations, and the zone couldn't have proven me any more correct on that one, as we see leaders 1 million Virtual Gaming all being beautifully blessed, and they can just continue to try and fortify those positions. But as we look towards the eastern side, Darkness, Soul, Zero Tolerance, they still have quite the task at hand, looking to get themselves resituated and positioned back in towards that zone.
What I do like at the moment is the position that Zero Tolerance do have. They are trying to just slowly but surely disengage, just force the hand of everyone that's trying to make this rotation through. So they've given the space now to Seoul Esports to leave the situation, and now they're trying to regroup, center themselves, and make a much structured approach towards the new zone. Of course, still keeping an eye out for the likes of Darkness, which they know to be in this vicinity. We do see Blackjack, however, finally finishing off that stare down with Legends of War there towards Los Leones.
Yeah, and that was a result of Blackjack kind of holding steady to where they were over on that western side, eastern side rather, and then starting to venture towards the west itself, right? Looking to move in, and this is where the Legends of War now are facing a little bit of a challenge. Power Boy, oh, about to get rushed, but Chronal jumps off of the roof, trying to just go blazing on down, but unfortunately they're not succeeding in getting that head in towards Chronal. Meanwhile, he does, though, get taken down, as we can see the players there from Myth coming in with a view of those third-party plays, and that is just yet another player now falling to Myth.
MG, what's happening here? We don't want to jump off buildings necessarily, but unfortunately, absolutely losing 2 players, and the hits still coming on through from Legends of War. Of course, so many teams in the vicinity as well, just to add on to the losses that Blackjack are currently experiencing. But they should be able to at least get MG back up into the ranks and continue on forward. We do, in the meanwhile, see Zero Tolerance finding a little bit of piece of one round, and Myth also finally just managing to make those connections into the rest of the teams within their own location as well.
Yeah, but this is going to be quite an important position, especially for Leaders of War, right? As we know, they are situated a little bit further down on the overall rankings, and they definitely need to try and find any opportunity available to them to lock in those placement points, but also lock in those eliminations. And going up against Blackjack is going to be proving to be quite a bit of a challenge. But fortunately, if they wait around long enough, they could see the players from Soul rotating up behind them, Darkness as well as Zero Tolerance. So there could be ample opportunities to try and lock in those points.
Looking at this now, Zero Tolerance also making a push for the zone, making a push for safety. Thankfully, the pathing that they're taking, at least seeming to take at this point in time, should allow them some sort of semblance of safety as they move into the eastern portion of Los Leones, which is currently up for grabs. Slime4KT, however, trying to keep Arab Golden here towards the northwestern portion of the zone, and with that new zone shift, we'll have to wait and see whether or not they can take their time to do this, or if they maybe need to focus on a rotation.
Well, the answer is rotation indeed, but it's going to be a challenge for Arab Golden to push through Slime4KT to get themselves back towards that zone. But Virtual Gaming, they're going to be just feeling absolutely amazing at this point, right? Being zone blessed once again with 1 million lag, and the rest of the teams are having to try and get those rotations locked on through. But Virtual Gaming in a spot where they could definitely capitalize on their elevation, their holding position, and just try and blaze on through as best they can.
And as we take a look at this, I was hearing voices in my head, and if the stream is as well, don't worry, it will go away shortly. But we do see Titans moving in from that southern portion of Chumacera, just around Minas del Val, into the zone, and they also going to have some very interesting terrain to manage, as we do see them just putting up just behind Virtual Gaming. And now 1 million esports, well, they need to manage the onslaught of Virtual Gaming moving on into this territory.
Well, let's see where this is going to be going. Virtual Gaming definitely having to defend it, as you said there. But 1 million not going to be sending themselves forward too aggressively, right? Just going to be moving in, taking occupation of the compounds, and then waiting for another opportunity to present themselves. You can see Marshall now starting to do that due diligence. We can see the leaders just off in the distance. So there could be quite a few challenges that will arise from this. But of course, now teams continue to get themselves situated, right? Blackjack just sticking to the edge of Los Leones, not going to be taking that full plunge because they know Myth is just up ahead of them.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a difficult rotation moving on through. One round, of course, still yet to find an angle into the zone, still yet to find an opposition, well, at least a position for them to call home. Darkness even have lost iron to the Blue Juice as they are making a very late rotation, and all of these teams are trying to cluster themselves within the zone, managing to find locations and at least any sort of hard cover or some semblance of protection moving into the next phase is going to be a very challenging opposition here for these teams.
It is going to be quite a bit of a challenge, but that is part of what they signed up for, right? None of these games are going to be easy or walk in the park, but now it is going to be up to the players here from Leaders Esports to see if they can get this edge of zone potentially locked on down, as Desert Flame are waiting to find that opportunity, trying to push on forward, but not wanting to push up hesitantly.
Oh, not wanting to get involved in any early altercations just yet because they've been so good in the last couple of days with their consistency. Now, Morteza, of course, just doing the scouting work, just trying to find the angles onto any approaching teams. Desert Flames, of course, they have the pressure here. They have the pressure to get themselves into the zone, get themselves into safety, and they have to potentially fight through Leaders Esports, who are taking control of a fantastic compound within zone, a fantastic position just in terms of safety. Now that next zone shift, of course, once again, we are favoring virtual gaming.
Oh, but that's what we love to see, right? Teams finding themselves ideally set up. But now comes the challenge. They need to try and find a way to get themselves situated, already positioned in that 2-2 split. It could work out absolutely amazingly for them because they have a slight bit of that elevation coming up in towards Chumasera. But this could be that opportunity as well now for Lag to push in from the west. As we know, a little bit more towards the western side is where it favors the elevation even more so. But speaking about favoring, right, it is going to be Arab Golden, Slime 4KT, and Leaders Esports now favoring themselves a little bit of that aggression as well.
I do really want Leaders Esports just to get involved in the aggression, especially because it's going to allow Arab Golden to start picking up some of those eliminations. Now we can see Leaders jumping in. We can see Slime 4KT teetering on, whether or not they should get involved, but they're currently focused here towards Desert Flame Esports, who are, at this point in time, I'm going to say the closest to the Slime 4KT nemesis.
Well, let's see who's going to be the nemesis here, right? As you said, they could be the closest one to that Slime 4KT position, but maybe we could see Slime taking a bit of an alteration here, right? Opting for a little bit more of that western push, and that could result in them pulling in alongside the players there from Lag. So a few more altercations could be on the horizon. And speaking about on the horizon, it is going to be Myth and 1 million now looking to rise to the tension starting to build here. Neither of these teams secured within that zone just yet, but it is going to be 1 million keeping a bit of a gatekeep on them, at least for the time being.
Ooh, and this is what I love, just that containment moving in from the teams, forcing the hand of, well, in this case, potentially Myth, potentially 1 million. There is still space for a turnaround here. Senke up ahead, with the rest of the team moving on in. Lazy Boy just prepping those nades alongside Farok, looking for the angles, looking for the connections. And they will, for at least, in some case, work as a bit of a warning to the rest of the teams moving on through. Moment is, for the time being, just holding back alongside the rest of 1 million, just to try and get a flanking position, a flanking angle or line of sight to work with here.
Yeah, it's just those friendly reminders. Just telling the teams, you know what, don't come just yet. We're almost ready
back
for
off.
you. Yeah, just hang on a second. We're almost about to get this party underway. But again, the zone will continue to push on forward. As we can see, we are running out of time before we make it into that next phase. But it's going to be up to Lazy Boy now, sending the shots right over in towards Moment. And Farok and the rest of the team now having to try and find a way to retaliate, but not only retaliate, get themselves out of the situation and much closer towards that next zone. The shots are going to come on through. Still, we see that 2-2 split being held here by 1 million. Farok trying to play on the edge, looking for that additional information. Finds a beautiful opening and a great answer.
Yes!
Sends out a double knock onto what's Lazy Boy and Marshall.
This is the flanking position we needed. Broly's going to be joining the fray as well and really forcing the hand of 1 million. Now, they were holding that 2-2 split because they wanted to make sure that they had escapability, that they had a different line of sight, a different angle to hold should Myth actually get this aggression and turn one over on them. And, well, this is exactly what happened. But now, because of their setup, they're able to come back with the answer, and Senke will be the first to take down Broly.
Oh, but look at that. Farok just riding high, stepping up and getting a beautiful hit in right there. But unfortunately, the blue zone beats them to the punch, just getting those knocks secured. But speaking about knocks, right, you can see the players here from Titan also now just looking to lay the pressure on quite thick as they're moving through. Leaders just over towards that western side. But straight ahead is going to be none other than 1 round's final contender. It's going to be quite the challenge, though. As you can see, of course, a few more of those knocks and elims coming through in the feed. But for the time being, it's going to be Slime 4KT having to secure a bit of a player. All now riding on Storm. it's quite interesting to see quite a bit of a turnaround coming through. Storm and the rest of the players here from Slime 4KT usually being quite favorable when it comes to surviving into those much later few phases. But Lax stepping up with quite a bit of a defensive play here. It is going to be Wave now also looking to find the opening onto Wood Soul. It is going to be Rhino to succeed, but Twix closing the door on them.
I would tell you what, if I was keeping an eye out on those elimination feeds, I would be shaking in my boots if I knew that I was close to Titan Esports, currently running away with 9 eliminations. Also single-handedly took out the entirety of Zero Tolerance, who made a fantastic rotation into that southern portion of the zone. And as we see, Storm, of course, being confirmed swiftly right after, unfortunately, the players here coming through. But Leaders Esports, they still have an opportunity to recover and potentially move into the zone. It's just facing off against that rotation in the crosshairs here of both One Round and Titan Esports.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of a challenge still, right? So we can see Moha, the final contender left now for 1 round, looking for a bit of an opportunity, an angle, trying to utilize this terrain to get themselves out of that unfortunate position, getting caught on the very edge. But the next safe zone is just up ahead, and this could mean that Moa is going to be facing quite a bit of crossfire in that rotation as well. But moving forward, this is where the terrain really comes into play. We can see Virtual Gaming off in the distance. Leaders now trying to once again assert themselves on that slight elevation.
And it's a good angle to hold, especially moving into this next phase. I mean, you've got Titans here in the mix. We've got Virtual Gaming within center with a fantastic compound and hardcover to navigate. But a lot of the teams holding those outskirts portions of the zone, as understandably they are a little bit worried to move on in. So many teams have rather just opted for that early rotation, that early setup. And again, focusing on Virtual Gaming as the team that has been zone blessed for the last 2 zones, they have a prime position.
Yeah, they definitely do, but they've been reading the zone so phenomenally, and now they just keep on capitalizing on their current position. We can see them now turning a little bit of that focus down on towards Titans. But of course, Arab Golden going to be looking to pressurize Lag, trying to hold any potential rotations for them. But still, Arab Golden not in the clear. They have to get themselves repositioned and resituated back into the safety of this next zone.
It is a little bit of a shorter dash for them, compared to, I mean, a team like Lag that they're currently keeping their crosshairs on, or even at least Titans Teak, who has to move in a little bit further to join the rest of their party, moving into the southern portion of the zone. As you can see, Lag just applying some pressure as they move on through. Teak will be going down to the hands of both Lag and Virtual Gaming, giving a helping hand into that regard. And Lag now fighting off against Arab Golden, who are here towards the northern portion of the zone. But this could be the trigger for Lag to take out Arab Golden and to give them space moving into that northern portion.
It could definitely be, but as we see, it is going to be at least on the side of 1-9. Them stepping up with that nice M4 UMP kind of combo. Looking to see if they can find a few of the sprays along the way, but now Fantasy just trying to put up that smoke road. So they could have a little bit of a better chance to get themselves positioned back in towards the zone and keep themselves in contention. But Ilias just providing that cover position now as Wiz is going to be looking to push on forward. Out comes the utilities once again as the teams continue with the pressure. They continue to have to move on forward, but up comes the Hess now as Leaders Esports actually reach up the hill. Lag starting to advance forward, looking to rush straight up in towards Arab Golden, but it's going to be Ilias on the receiving end as the shots just connect on through. And Lag not full sending it just yet, still having one player held up on the very edge here. But here we go as they push in and they secure the finish with a great assist coming through there from Leaders.
Leaders Esports just happy to pick up any and all eliminations moving on into these later phases of the zone. Now Titans up on the chop block as well as Virtual Gaming are starting to pick apart their numbers. You've got Puncher trying to make a desperate dash into the zone, into some sort of semblance of safety, but they will be doing so right in front of Leaders. So unequivocally just placing themselves in a bit of a sandwich here.
Well, I mean, you say sandwich, but it looks a little bit almost like a bit of a Dagwood, if I could be as bold. But it is quite the turn of events, though. I mean, Puncher, the final player left, final contender for Titans to see where they can push the envelope towards next. And Titans still sitting on those 9 eliminations, but still ahead as we are seeing the players from Leaders Esports trying to close up that gap. But unfortunately, it's going to be Gary Boyd to get spotted out and get taken down as Twix Now just peers across the reach, but look at the nade. Is it going to be on the money? Oh, so close. But fortunately for Twix, they saw that nade coming and just moved out of the way, but that would have been on point coming through right there from Shadowin.
Oh, and they're just going to continue at this point in time, right? Why keep up the pressure? Just continue to hammer on. And looking at virtual gaming once again, holding full control of this compound. We do have, of course, Puncher, being one of the closest members to maybe do something about it. But as soon as they do step up, they not only expose themselves to virtual gaming, they not only give virtual gaming the line of sight they need, but they also give Leaders Esports or even Soul Esports an opportunity to just hop on in and completely at least eliminate Titan Esports.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at this performance that we're seeing so far coming through here from Virtual Gaming, this is the kind of increase in performance we want to see, right? They started off today sitting all the way in 17th position with 13 points to their name. Looking at where they currently find themselves, if they are able to survive at least into that top 3, they are walking away with a guaranteed minimum of 14 points. That is, regardless of the amount of eliminations they can secure. But Zeus is not satisfied with 4. They push it up to 5, pushing it up to 6 as Twix also now gets taken down. And now all the effort and focus gets put on the remainder of Leaders. But it is going to be up to Shadowin to just try and duck out in that blue zone, not wanting to give that elimination point over to the players from Virtual. But both Virtual and Leaders finding themselves on those 7 points respectively with regards to the aggression. But up comes the push, one shot, and Gaga not going to be satisfied with that. But meanwhile, it is one shot to get taken down, and just in the nick of time, it is going to be the end of the road for Leaders, as we see Virtual Gaming walking away with their first winner chicken dinner in the second week, locking it in with those 7 eliminations.
I love that final moment for Virtual Gaming because you could see that they had that discussion. They had that sort of just game strategy moving in forward. They said, okay, this is the information we currently have. We know where Titans are landed. We know that there is a solo from Twix, a solo from Soul, rather, in the form of Twix, hiding amongst the grasses. We have that positional advantage. We have that information. Let's get all of our players, into position and simply execute a fantastic plan moving into the final phase.
Well, they did succeed 100% in executing an absolutely plan. I mean, I'd even go as far as to say it was an exceptional plan because it worked out so amazingly for them. As we know, starting in 70th place, they needed those points. They locked it in. They honed the aggression. And that is kind of the Virtual Gaming that we saw in the previous season of PMPL, right? Over in the spring season. And it's good to see a potential return of those efforts coming through, moving into this fall season once more. But an absolutely beautiful performance. Of course, Soul, Leaders, keeping the pressure up. But let's take a look and see what the overall rankings are, at least the match rankings for this very first game. It's none other than Virtual Gaming walking away with 22 points to their name.
Absolutely. Picking up those 7 eliminations to match up with Leaders Esports, who were on a bit of a tear before they found themselves in that final position, as well as Titans picking up 9 eliminations, meaning that they find themselves in 3rd place, irrespective of their placement in 4th. Soul Esports, of course, joining them with those double digits in 16 points. And the rest of the teams, not far off in terms of the overall points that they were able to catch in that Miramar of the day. But as I'm looking at it, I do feel there is obviously a very big focus on those top 4. There was definitely a massive, at least, advantage that Virtual Gaming, created for themselves, especially moving into those phases, finding that final position with that entire compound in their control.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit scary to look at the performance coming through there from Titans once again. But as we know, having such a top-heavy performance come through, that then results in the rest of the teams, especially the ones situated on the second page, being left in the dust, right? Only 3 eliminations being brought in there for Myth, 1 million, and Blackjack, putting them on 4 and 3 points respectively. But one round, not finding anything, only walking away with placement points, 0 tolerance, at least finding 1 elimination. And the same, of course, can be said for Legends of War. But Desert Flame and Darkness getting sent back with a bag of donuts.
Yeah, a bag of donuts, a bag of bubbles, whatever you want to call it. It is unfortunately not the start they would have wanted, especially after we just said what a fantastic start they had yesterday, picking up, the 8th and 6th placements that they found. It is a hard start to Miramar, but again, we still have plenty of Miramar left in the day, so they have plenty of opportunities to rehash that and come back even stronger.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the team still to push up and bring in those improvements. But of course, we know, right, as we're getting closer to our second match right here for this day, we are going to be moving into a little bit of that, Sanhok action, as we saw. But that means that we are going to be having Mad Knight, Super Young Stars, Triple Esports, and VST Gaming joining us out on the battlefield. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for them now to step up on a map like Sanhok, lock in that additional aggression, and potentially just capitalize on the fact that they can now honor a few additional points as well.
Yeah, we've seen in the past what a warm-up on Sanhok can do for the respective teams. We had that in last week's, I believe it was Friday's games, moving in and starting with the Sanhok and ending off with so many Erangels in the day. It really showcased a very good aggression for the teams moving into even the Miramar games. We had the teams just staying a little bit more active, bringing in a lot more energy as we started with Erangel and moved into started with Sanhok and moved into Erangel and Miramar. Wow, it's going to be confusing today for me. But if we take a look at the teams now joining the fray, joining Sanhok and bringing in that potential for aggression, I feel like we could be seeing a lot more of a rejuvenated, start for these teams in particular.
Yeah, well, speaking about rejuvenation, right, we need to take a look at a few of the beautiful plays we had coming through from this past match. Not that it has anything to do with rejuvenation, but it's a nice reminder. Yeah, I mean, I just thought that would be a great little bit of a segue, seeing that my segues never really make much sense. But you know what? It is what it is. We did see, however, Blackjack really doubling down on that jump off the roof, But that was such a great opportunity for Myth. I was loving that position coming through from Myth, just positioned and just locked in, just trading off Blackjack as they kept on flying down. And what a way that was for them to look to capitalize. But of course, we had some beautiful nades coming through there from the side of Virtual Gaming, and that's what we're going to be looking forward to as well as we move forward in towards a little bit of that Sanhok action, right? It's much more close-quartered, and the teams are going to be presented with an opportunity to try and capitalize. But of course, speaking about capitalization, we need to take a look and see what the overall situation is, and just who needs to step up and capitalize in this next game.
Absolutely, and of course Titan Gaming following suit, trying to keep it pretty consistent. 58 placements, 59 eliminations, very, very close to doing so. But of course, Leaders Esports stepping up in a remarkable way as well, trying to close the gap and getting fairly close to Titan Gaming. We do see that gap unfortunately continue as we move into our third placement, with Soul Esports sitting on 64 points, so not necessarily as close as they would have wanted to, and that trend really does continue as we move on to fourth place. But the overall points within these gaps that need to be closed are not massive. It's not like an impossible number for them to try and close.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at Virtual Gaming, right? They had that winner chicken dinner, but they jumped 11 places. 11 places in one game, right? Because it's still early in the phase, still early in the week. That is still quite accessible for teams to make these drastic jumps. So there's still quite a bit of hope for teams situated a little bit further down, right? Zero Tolerance, Legends of War, Mad Knight, to make those jumps, to make those advances, and just to bring everything together. So especially we're going to be looking at Mad Knight. But before we get to that, we need to see what the situation is on the second page, right? Still very close. Only 10 points separating 9th and 16th from each other.
Yeah, it's not looking too crazy, but it definitely is starting to form up at least the trends that we've been seeing so far. So unfortunately for Darkness and Desert Flame, they didn't have the start they would have wanted to, but they're still in a really good position. I mean, they're still finding themselves in those top 12 placements. So as long as they can continue with that consistency, we might be able to see them have, bring on that performance on towards Livik at the end of the week. Of course, for Slime 4KT, Arab Golden, and VST Gaming, they have a little bit more work to do. VST didn't obviously have the opportunity to pick up the points on Miramar just yet, but they will join us on Sanhok and hopefully bring in that energy that we are waiting for.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be waiting for that energy to come trickling on through. We know VST put them on a little bit of that Livik action, and they rise to the occasion, just, locking in an absolutely fantastic performance. But now, moving into Sanhok, it's a slight bit bigger. A slight bit bigger than what we had coming through in towards Livik itself. So I'm still quite hopeful for the players from VST to bring in those efforts. But of course, as we move into our last page, these are the teams that are having to put a little bit more focus in, at least for today, right? Moving into Sanhok is going to be presenting the teams with that opportunity to double down and just really hone the efforts to get those points going.
Yeah, and this is what we would hope would happen with these teams as they move in through the rest of the phases. We did, of course, unfortunately have to say that, well, 4 teams always going to have to find themselves on this page. Triple Esports now joins the fray as Virtual Gaming. Obviously, just had a massive, massive Miramar game, so someone else has to take their place on the last 4 standings. But as we mentioned, one game moved Virtual Gaming up from that last page all the way up 11 places. So there is a massive opportunity now to jump on early in the bandwagon, get those points early, have those massive games if you want to have them, or even just those consistent games. They don't need to be 30-pointer games. Even just a 20-pointer could land you in a completely different set of circumstances on the overall standings.
Well, we'd also love to hear what our viewers are thinking. So be sure to reach out on social media. You can, of course, reach us on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. You can hit us up with the hashtag there, PMPL African. Tell us what your thoughts are. Who do you think is going to be the next team to rise to the challenge, to rise to the expectation over on Sanhok, potentially walk away with that glorious winner chicken dinner? You can also hit us up on our own socials, which you will see just displayed below our names. But aside from asking the viewers what their predictions are, right? I'm going to be asking you exactly the same. Who do you think is going to be the team to step up? Or rather, who's the team that you're going to be watching stepping into Sanhok?
Okay, I'm not going to give predictions, but I will say that I'm going to keep an eye out on Slime 4KT and their at least opportunities as they move in through to the rest of the day, especially Desert Flame, Darkness, and of course all of our 4 teams on those later phases. We already know that some teams have started with those fantastic, explosive performances, like Titans, like Leaders. I know that. That is fine. What I want to know is how the teams on the later phases of the overall standings, on the later parts of the overall standings rather, are going to step up, and when are they going to step up? Because the sooner the better for me, based on what we saw from last week's performance.
Well, I mean, we will hopefully find out soon, and of course, no time to wait any longer as we are going to be jumping straight into the game to see where that flight path is going to be taking us. It starts all the way up to that northern edge, heading straight across the center of the map, as we can see. Again, a very, very satisfying flight path coming through, which will be revealed roundabout now. There we go. But of course, as we then look to see where this next phase is going to be going, I think this is where the teams are a little bit on the excited end, right? Because this is that opportunity for Mad Knight to step up with the efforts. And that's the team that I'm going to be watching. I want to see Mad Knight just rise and just blow us away with the absolutely insane performance.
Absolutely. And of course, TEAMLAG, not 1 million, There's the Flame Esports and Wave Esports won't be joining the fray on Sanhok, so they won't be having a Sanhok day today, unfortunately. There is going to have to be that sacrifice coming through. But for the rest of the teams who didn't get that first Miramar of the day, this is their opportunity to start that catch-up. So definitely keeping an eye out for VST Gaming as well, as we know that they were one of our most consistent teams moving into the first phase. They really started Tuesday and Wednesday's games with an absolutely just perfection in terms of performances, because we would constantly find them in that top 8 placement. We would constantly find them on that overall standings, just having a ball of a time.
Yes, a ball of a time indeed. And speaking about having a ball of a time or a whale of a time, right? Whatever you want to call it, it is going to be Triple Esports and Arab Golden getting ready to light up the altercations here, as both these teams have dropped down in towards Camp Charlie, and could be resulting in quite a bit of an exciting performance there for them. Of course, we see a very similar approach coming through here, at least for one of the players from the Super Young Stars. It's going to be none other than Zeref, now having to defend the compound against the push coming through here from Tornado. But Tornado is going to be looking to kick up a storm.
Oh, I would like to see that happening up here. And a nice little pun there. I will give you a 7 out of 10. The rest of the viewers, of course, can rate your puns on the social medias and let us know what they think. But what I do want to understand is how the teams are going to be managing these little bit of a hot drop situations, like, of course, Darkness and Super Young Stars now looking at one another and deciding, well, is this going to be a fight that is worth it? Of course, we know the rest of Super Young Stars, they have a bit of a 2-2 split happening here, so we can see Seraph just trying to group up with Mort and ensure that there is some sort of safety in numbers here towards Cave. Who knows? Maybe they might take a little bit of a duck into Cave. We don't really get to see Cave all that often.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought it was Zeref that dropped a little bit further away from the team, but actually it turns out it was Tornado that pushed a little bit further ahead from the rest of the squad there. So some interesting positions being played out here. But another thing that I'm noticing is that Legends of War have also gone for a very separated play. They've got 3 of their players situated very close towards Trifecta, with the final hopeful situated all the way down to that far southern edge, just alongside Triple Esports and Arab Golden.
Okay, so we've got some opportunities here, and again, once more opportunities for those early altercations, those early hot drops, which is what I like to see. A very aggressive showing from these teams. Even Legends of War pushing up into 1 round's position now. I just keep seeing more and more opportunities for hot drops, but here it is, Knight looking for Irving, and again, what gun is that? DK, what gun do we keep mentioning time and time again on Sanhok?
The water pistol.
Yes, of course.
Sure.
Good guess.
Yeah, because that looks exactly like a water pistol. 100%, right? I mean, if you can ask me any time of the day, that's the water pistol right there. But some great utilization coming through there as Knight was defending that position quite phenomenally. But again, right, the Legends of War, that split out position not really working out all too favorably for them. And speaking about splits, we are seeing M7 now stepping up, but it is going to be Ilias to get taken down by a Molly as it gets sent across. Out comes the push here. Angelo steps up to the challenge, also coming through with a little of that pew pew. But here we go, 7 Reef now looking to offend their teammate.
Yeah, it's not quite the DBS, but definitely the shotties are making a massive splash, like the water pistols that DK likes to talk about. Coming through with that confirmation, Kimmo, we're going down. 7 Reef just trying to make a dash for safety as the rest, of course, of Triple Esports are moving in on this pincer maneuver. They've already lost Kimmo. They're looking to just manage their losses. 1 down for Arab Golden, but they still have yet to get that confirmation. So, of course, we can see Black 7 just sneaking on into the fray here. Potential opportunity there for the flank.
Yeah, coming through with the well, I almost made a very bad knock-knock joke, but this could be Black rather not going to be looking to play knock-knock as they now just push on forward. Arab Golden now getting kind of caught up in this little compound here, but strangely enough, we're not seeing that full send coming through from Triple Esports, right? Black 7 is going to be keeping quite a bit of pressure on them, but M7 just situated up high. A nice bit of a vantage point at play here. But now everything rides on what is going to come through from 7 Reef. Will we see that push, that kind of closure come through with Triple trying to kind of just, apply that pressure and tighten the grip that they've got on Arab Golden?
That is going to be the question. Of course, we know there's an opportunity for some other teams just to in the fray as well, as we know. Darkness just on the high rise, Super Young Stars in and around the angles as well, to potentially jump into the fray. Triple Esports 7 Reef now bringing in the beautiful sprays, but again, a lot of damage being dealt, but no confirmations, unfortunately. Hopefully now that confirmation towards Angelo might follow suit, but this has to be the trigger for Triple Esports to push on in.
Yeah, definitely the opportunity to do exactly that. As we can see, Safe now letting it fly with that Tommy gun. Oh, there we go. There we go. Get some of that jump action. Why don't you? Up comes Angelo. Down goes Angelo as the Tommy gun now reigns supreme. It all now rides on thin. And 7 Reef, as well as Black 7, are going to be looking to tighten it up as they now move on forward. Oh, bit of coverage coming in. But up comes the sprays. And it is Triple Esports to take down Arab Golden with an absolutely phenomenal rush, not losing a single additional player, only saying goodbye to Kimmo.
That is fantastic. This is the kind of managing expectations and managing their losses that I was looking for from Triple Esports, because you've already lost 1. Definitely don't want to lose more than that. Of course, 1 round now taking a little bit of a page out of Triple Esports' book, and this time focusing that aggression here towards Leaders Esports, who are currently holding that high-rise position here just off of the side of Boot Camp. As 1 round, they still have a few players mixed in and around the vicinity. 1 still holding at least that position towards Boot Camp for that rotation, for that at least disengagement, should they choose to take it.
Well, I'm liking the plays. Leaders really spreading themselves out quite nicely, trying to bring in as much coverage as they can find over on Sanhok. And as we know, it's sometimes a little bit short-lived because, the teams find themselves so close to each other. But again, looking at what we have left of Legends rather, they are bringing in a little bit of a separation here, right? We've got Obesa and I believe that's Flick alongside them now, just holding up towards that more centralized region. But we are yet to see what's going to come from their final players situated down south. It does seem like they could maybe, oh, that's actually Flick that's all the way down south. It's Power Boy alongside Obesa up here. So maybe we could see a little bit of movement coming back in towards Flick. I'm not quite sure if Flick maybe is just AFK or, watching a flick or something. I'm not quite sure, but we'll have to wait to see how this one pans out. But I'm liking the position also that VST are moving into. A nice bit of elevated position to try and utilize.
What's a bit of a question mark for me is, of course, the position of Titans. They've got one player here towards Barn, which is, of course, in the form of Axo. They've got two a little bit close towards the coastline with Teak, I believe, just scouting out between the coastline and Camp Bravo right now. I'm not sure if what they're doing currently, but very split up approach from them. At least they do have that navigational information from Ban, maybe moving in closer to the zone, a little bit closer to center, just behind Leaders Esports. So it could be an interesting one, but as you take a look at that map, of course, just to understand what, in heaven's sake, that I'm talking about, Slime 4KT also moving through from Camp Alpha a little bit later than the rest, but that's the only team that has yet to fully set themselves up within the zone.
Yeah, but we are also seeing the teams very centered up within that vertical band within this phase. Now with that shift coming through, we also already see quite a few teams maintaining those positions, not really having to put so much focus on these positional plays. Instead, they can look to capitalize on their strategies. But Myth now, they're going to be just riding the wave as they push on forward, finding the trades, getting black, and down they go, about to lock it in. Yes, indeed, off they are. And now all the pressure turns over on towards 7 Reef, as well as on towards M7 to see what they can bring through for the continuation of Triple's efforts.
And we've already seen Triple Esports looking for, that step up. As we know, they've unfortunately been pushed to that last 4 teams page, on the overall standings, on the last page rather. And already picking up 5 eliminations is going to make a significant effort showcase for them. They're going to be able to pick up those eliminations and just hopefully climb that overall standings. We'll see how the placements, of course, are going to translate just with 2 players left alive, but I still feel that there is a massive opportunity for them, especially looking at the rotation that they're taking, if they would hopefully go a little bit more towards the east, because if they go straight south, they're going to be facing off against Myth, they're going to be facing off against Super Young Stars, might even find Darkness and Blackjack Esports. So yeah, please hopefully go a little bit more towards the east. The rest of the teams, of course, still Legends of War and Soul Esports now, hopping on for a potential bit of a trigger here.
We'll see what is going to be the trigger result here, as it is going to be Rauf now to get traded on down. Power Boy not able to hold up that front alongside Hemo, but up comes YC with that water pistol once again. Just going to pew down and just raining down terror as the players from the side of Legend, I believe, now down to their final contender. That is going to be none other than Mr. Flick, all the way down to that far southern edge. But I'm not sure, as we said before, right, whether or not Flick is AFK, or maybe that's a different kind of strategy they are going to be looking to play at. Meanwhile, it is going to be Morteza just capitalizing on this little bit of a vantage point they've got on the hillside, fighting with the sprays, but nothing connecting up sufficiently so.
And unfortunately, it's VST that's holding that crosshair. More fortunately, at least for VST, if they could find that elimination on towards Morteza. Because as we know, this is their first game of the day. They want to start off with an absolute bang. They want to start off as best as they possibly can. In the meanwhile, Triple Esports, this is where the pressure's really going to be on. As we know, only 2 members remaining, and now they have to face the entirety of Super Young Stars.
Yeah, Super Young Stars, of course, riding that 2-2 split as well. As you can see, it is going to be Murd and Zeref on the front line, with a little bit of a due diligence play coming through here. Super Young Stars waiting to see if they can line up any of these angles. But Triple just going to be keeping steady, at least for the time being. Not going to be pushing forward. Instead, we could see them try to play a bit of a flank, moving towards that west or eastern side. I think especially over towards the east, it's going to be a super challenging decision. But the west might hold a few more fortunate plays for them. Meanwhile, we see Shadow now waiting in anticipation for Virtual Gaming to just come over that ridge line. Already we see One Shot making a dash, trying to get right up close and personal.
We did see just on the edge of the minimap there that Flick is moving, so there's some movement happening here for Legends of War. Of course, now Virtual Gaming trying to hold the line. They had such a dominating performance there on towards Miramar, but can they replicate that on literally half the size of this map? Moving into Sanhok, One Shot taking a bit of a dash, and unfortunately that little bit of a dash is exactly what Shadow needed to find the line of sight.
Well, let's see how this is going to push on through. The teams now continue to try and just get themselves situated, but leaders trying to bring in a little bit of a split here, right? We did see them coming into what seemed to be a bit of that single fine more positioning. But here we have Morteza cooking up those utils, finds a bit of damage, one shot, super low on health. One more nade could be all that it is, and that is exactly what it will be. As Morteza reaches across that boulder and finds to knock on through. Gaddafi also super low on that health, but manages to quickly patch it back up. Let's see whether or not they'll be able to now keep the players from Legends at bay as one shot is about to fall. There we go, the confirmation. Getting close in with a nice molly. The rest of the team from Virtual Gaming now can be opting to just duck out and just get themselves a little bit more out of this pressure position, just so they can breathe and just regather themselves.
I would definitely want to disengage from Leaders Esports. We do see Legends, on the other hand, picking up at least an elimination or two. But as we know, that L on L action is not going to be happening this time around, as Leaders are moving in closer and closer to the northern part of the zone. Maybe just trying to take control of the compound there on the crossroads, as we can see. Now, Virtual Gaming, on the other hand, if you take a look at it, they have managed to at least take control of this compound. They've managed to find themselves a good set of hard cover, and that will allow them just to get that breathing room, just to get that, pause as they try and take cognizance of what's happening around them, because we know that zone shifted a little bit more towards the northern position of the zone. We still have teams like Triple Esports, Myth, Legends of War to try and find themselves some sort of safety within zone.
Yeah, that reset is going to do them quite a few favorable things. But of course, as we look just a little bit further down south, outside of zone, it is going to be the Super Young Stars and Darkness looking to kind of piece those plays back together. But out in the blue zone, we see Flick now caught up in quite the compromised position here, trying to make a bit of a gain on towards Myth, but it's not going to succeed in reaching all the way across. Up comes the hit slow. Broly drives it through, and that is going to be Legends of War taken out, sent away in that 15th position. But now Myth, they need to focus their efforts on getting themselves towards that zone, right? You do not want to mess with the blue zone over on Sanhok. In the meanwhile, we are seeing players here from Seoul and One Round moving much, much closer to each other.
Ooh, a little cheeky, just a scouting position happening here, right? So Esports trying to understand, okay, how is the split coming through from One Round? Because I definitely wouldn't have expected this. Moha's so far out from the rest of the squad. So now that elimination might be on the cards here, as Rauf is trying to push up, trying to get closer. One Rounds with Knight, of course, has rotated off, trying to get the res. In the meanwhile, the rest of the squad taking down Twix. This is now a push for the finish.
Well, this is going to be quite an interesting altercation coming in between One Round and Seoul. But in the meanwhile, we see the players there from the Super Young Stars also now meeting their end. But YC getting spotted out. The shots connecting through it. Chico applies the pressure, sends the shots in. Rauf trying to sneak up the opposite end. Trying to bring in a little bit of that retaliation here. But let's see, will it piece together? They now come through for a bit of a flank play. But Seoul definitely could be benefiting from this one. Already we know them coming into this match situated all the way in that third place. But now acquiring even more points could just solidify that position even more so, making it so much more challenging for a team like One Round, who are only 2 slots behind them, kind of preventing that potential for them to try and catch up, at least for now.
Oh, YC moving on through, finding that hit onto Chico is really going to force the hand of One Round just to duck out, just to leave. It's not worth it at this point in time. We can't get those raises coming on through, so let's just leave. Eflex and Knight, of course, the last remaining hopefuls here for One Round. Looking at the rotation that they're going to have to take, I would hope that they take a longer one, move into that northern position, find themselves as safe of an entryway as possible, because they're very close right now to Mad Knight and Triple Esports. Hello. They've spotted a bit of darkness on the horizon.
Yeah, but there's another kind of darkness looming around as well. That is going to be that blue zone that is just going to be dealing incremental damage to them. Of course, Seven Reef and M7 are trying to make a bit of a play here, pushing on down Ghost, waiting in anticipation to see where exactly it is that they'll be moving, but also focusing on keeping that health bar up. I'm not expecting too much. Well, yeah, not too much longer of a play coming through here from Ghost, but of course they're looking to make the most of the situation. Finds the spray right there on towards M7. Does get spotted out by 7 Reef. But fortunately, Ghost now managing to quickly duck back into that hard cover. It's going to be looking to potentially find a few more meds, as we did see them now down to only bandages. And that only means that the end of Ghost is going to be in sight.
It's unfortunate because we've seen Ghost revenge the rest of their team before. They've taken out the entirety of, I believe it might have been Triple Esports even, where they've just managed such a beautiful, beautiful revenge play. But now, as you mentioned, they're going to be forced to just stick it out in the blue zone and see how long they can last. And speaking about lasting, it's going to be Seoul Esports trying to see how long they can last with this push up into Leaders Esports, who currently just hold the high rise, and they're just getting pummelled from every which angle.
Yeah, the same is going right over on towards the place there from one round, as they are finding themselves in a bit of an altercation with Slime 4KT. But Mad Knight still in contention, just trying to get themselves situated in this compound. But up comes the push now from Raouf, trying to find that opening. Meanwhile, Triple Esports will get sent away. Agent 47 now on the defensive edge here with Skola, keeping a very close eye on the window, sends out a bit of a nade. Oh, had he gotten that little bit of a rebound, it could have found the point right on towards Raouf. Meanwhile, Darkness now will also bid their adieus, but here we go. It's going to be a rush around the little shack, right, to see who will be the team to get it and contain that position, as it is now Raouf to get taken right on down as Mad Knight, Agent 47, locks it in. Up comes the rest of the spray. Shadowin will fall as they are caught in the crossfire, but that is coming through from the players of VST pushing up alongside them.
Yeah, taking position here just on the ridge line. VST have a very good opposition here. They have a very good opportunity, rather, to take the rest of Leaders Esports out. Only 3 to a 4-piece coming through here from VST, moving on through and taking their time to just find the angles, but they have to be a little bit quicker about it. Wasted, of course, keeping their crosshairs trained on this ridge line and have such good information to work with now.
Yeah, this could be that play, but it's going to be wasted to get taken right on down as it's a boot steps up. Zerxie also now getting traded down as Carry Boy follows through, but there we go. The continuation will come to a great result, especially looking at the players here from Leaders. But now the hopes and dreams for VST rides solely on Atleno, looking to see whether or not they can keep the pressure up. Of course, that blue zone is going to be adding to the mix, as they will continue and have to try and get themselves situated in towards this next phase.
Oh, we do love this just pressure situation that the teams are finding themselves in. Haven't even moved into safety just yet because they've just been fighting all of these opposition. They've just been fighting all these angles. Now, Leaders Esports, of course, trying to find an angle into the zone, but they're soon going to have to deal with not only VST, but Virtual Gaming moving in on this position as well from the southern point of the zone. A lot of teams still left alive, but don't let it fool you. Most of those teams are left to solos out in the blue zone trying to survive.
Well, let's see who will be able to survive that blue. Atleno, super low on their health bar, trying to get those positions in. But they are, of course, going up against the Leaders. We can see Wasted just waiting patiently. We got just behind them. It's going to be Gaddafi and the rest of the players coming through for the side of Virtual Gaming. So a very contentious position, especially looking down on towards the southern edge. But no clear indication as to who's going to be taking this position and locking it in. What we do know, though, is that it is going to be the end of the road for Blackjack as they get sent away in that 10th position. But up comes the push to the right now from Gaddafi and Zeus, looking to clear up the southern edge, but they've not yet spotted anybody on the southern edge alongside them.
This is making me panic so much. And Leno somehow, some way, just sneaking up in the grasses, but will be eventually spotted out as both VST and Virtual Gaming get sent back into the lobby. We finally have a little bit of that anxiety away from us. One round, though, in the meantime, we'll be battling for a space in the zone as Knight on a sliver of HP just narrowly escapes the blue. But again, as soon as they make that dash for the zone, it's going to be Titans up next with the crosshairs trained and ready for their position.
Oh, but with that, it is going to be Farouk from Myth to get taken out. It is down to our final 4 teams now. It is Legends, Titans, Soul, and one round in contention for that winner chicken dinner. Soul sitting on 8 eliminations, Titans sitting on 3. We got the players then from one round on 6 and Leaders situated on 7. But Leaders and Titans, they've got the numbers moving into this phase. Let's see whether or not they can now ride this wave out and just capitalize and lock in that winner chicken dinner.
Leaders Esports moving in from that southern position, of course, has the high rise, has the high angles here to work with, so we'll potentially be able to spot out Titans first. But Teak now trying to make a dash up the ridgeline, up towards Leaders position, trying to just establish themselves a better line of sight to the rest of the squads.
Ooh, up comes the hits, the sprays, and it is going to be P6 to get taken on down. Next up is Teak, but oh, they get a quick hit. Of course, that blue zone just eating away at their health bar. Wasted now. Going to be bleeding out all the pressure on towards Carry Boy, but with that, the confirmation comes through, and it now turns to Soul and Leaders to fight it out for that final play, and Carry Boy gets sent away, and Soul locks in the winner chicken dinner.
I am reminded of an Erangel that went in a similar fashion. We had, of course, Leaders Esports in the final contention for that final moment, but they got tunnel visioned. They focused on one team when there was a snake in the grass ready to steal it all. And of course, this time it was Hemo to come on through for Seoul Esports to take the winner chicken dinner. With 11 eliminations, they're going to have a fantastic boost on their overall standings.
Oh, that must feel so amazing to see such an absolutely glorious performance coming through there. And that's the kind of opportunities that we are looking at for these teams, right? Looking to just ride these storms out and just capitalize on any and everything that comes their way. So what a phenomenal play. 11 eliminations. That is quite impressive. But of course, right, even more so looking at the map that it happened on. It was over on Sanhok. And that is the map in which teams get absolutely punished for making any small mistakes. So great way to capitalize on the opportunities and just lock that in alongside the winner chicken dinner.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be very interested to see how Seoul Esports actually boosted themselves on the overall standings when we take eventually a look at that. But we'll first have to just remind ourselves about the match rankings when eventually the math is done. And thankfully, again, we don't have to do that because we saw both how you and I cannot math in the slightest.
Well, I mean, we can do a slight bit of math, right? But of course, before we get into any additional math that needs to be done, we need to show a little bit of love over to our sponsors as well, right? So first up, we're going to give a big shout out to Monster Energy, our official energy drink partners right here for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues, as well as showing a lot of love over on towards Oppo. So Born to Win, welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much-loved Reno 7 series. Now, speaking about those gamer modes, we did see quite a beautiful emphasis of that being brought in this last game, with not only the players there from Seoul Esports stepping up, bringing in quite a phenomenal finish to their game, but we did see Leaders Esports putting in a very strong effort, right? Lining up those eliminations once again, I think they ended up on like 8 eliminations or something. Still a very strong play, but of course one round also looked to just double down on the efforts, coming in with 6 eliminations to their name.
My heart does go out to Titans' Teak as just in that final moment of managing to get the elimination and the knock. But unfortunately, that blue zone just moved in a little too quick. We can take a look at the match rankings, of course. They are done. They are ready for us to take a look at. Of course, Seoul Esports picking up 26 points overall because of these insane eliminations that they garnered.
Yeah, definitely quite insane, right? But another surprising thing that we are seeing is Triple Esports, right? Locking in 8 eliminations as well, but falling before they were able to get themselves into a position where the placement points could be added in alongside that. So still a very strong effort being brought through here by Triple Esports. But again, we see Virtual Gaming looking to bring in a little bit more of a consistent performance so far for the day. First game looking absolutely golden for them, doubling the efforts once again as they moved in towards the second match. But we're also seeing that slight bit of a rise coming through from Slime 4KT.
Yeah, it's good to see just an overall improvement from the teams in terms of the contention they've been bringing in. Some eliminations, some placements here and there. Either way, it is points that they can add to their overall standings, which is exactly the focus that all of these teams are having because, well, they're trying to get themselves into the top 12 slots overall at the end of the week to be able to partake in a little bit of that Livic action. It's a good start for the teams that have just been able to join us, but of course we know the second page is not quite where some of the teams would have wanted themselves. I'm obviously thinking about VST Gaming, who weren't able to start on Miramar, joined us on Sanhok, and looked like they were starting with something really, really fantastic. They picked up those eliminations, but it didn't quite translate into the overall points they wanted.
Yeah, it wasn't the conversion that they were hoping for, But you know what? Now the dust is off, right? First match for them being covered, and they can only look to improve their performances moving into their remaining 3 games of the day. But again, right, we want to see that consistency being held by teams. They don't necessarily need to bring in the craziest amount of points, but just perform on a consistent basis, and that results in a very steady flow of points coming through. Yes, it's always quite nice to have a little bit more of an impressive performance, right? Hitting those double digits with eliminations, hitting those double digits with replacement points. But upholding kind of a performance like that does prove to be quite a bit of a challenge.
Especially if going against the rest of the teams that we've seen so far, because the adaptation and the theme of these teams constantly just being able to withstand and being agile to the changes and obstacles that are thrown at them has been the main theme for this season of PMPL Africa. I mean, we came in with format changes. We came in with, every day we're changing the maps. Every week we're changing the groups. They've had already quite a lot to deal with, over and above the teams themselves improving their strategies, improving the way that they are approaching it, rather, these engagements. So it is a very tough battle. It is a very tough, ask of these teams to constantly keep pushing it. But it's not going to stop me from asking these teams to constantly keep pushing it. I want to see the performances I know all of these teams are capable of.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. And of course, let's take a quick look at the highlights from this past match as well as we move into a few more things here. We did see a lot of that DBS utilization coming through in this round, right? The DBS, or the water pistol as I call it.
Yeah, you threw me for a little bit of a loop there, bringing in the water pistol, but it is the much-loved DBS, and I feel like we've been saving DBS for so much in the last week alone that it's okay. We can give it a new name, like we call YC. That's basically what we're going to be doing here. So yes, YC moving in with the water pistol, showing an absolutely dominating performance. We did see, unfortunately, Flick eventually, joining the fray, but not finding the best position to do so, being taken out by Esports, who constantly seem to have a handle, just on their vicinity and what has been, occurring around them.
Well, yeah, we'll get to see how that translates, right? Moving through into our next match, which is going to be much, much larger, moving right over back in towards Miramar for a little bit of that desert action once again. But on that note, we are, of course, going to be taking a very quick break, so be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys right back in a short few moments.
Stalemate? No problem. Ultimate Arena decides the victor.
How can I save you when you're tangled in your lies? Caught up in the middle, I can see it in your eyes. Lonely in the corner, waiting for somebody to come and save you from the cold of night. Easily, we've
Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready to move into our very third match right here in the second week of the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa 2022 season. And of course, quite a bit of action getting ready as we are prepping up that plane, dusting it off once again as it just flew over the desert. But of course, let's take a look at our schedule to remind everybody as to where we've been, where we're going, and what is yet to come. Next up is match number 3 right there on Miramar. And this is going to be that opportunity for the teams that didn't have the most favorable performance in the very first showing of Miramar today to look to come back and just replicate those efforts and just kind of patch up any of those, potential vacancies they feel they might have.
Exactly. Just, adapting to what the teams are throwing out there, adapting to what the teams are changing as we move into the rest of the maps. Of course, we've already seen Zero Tolerance, changing up their drop locations. Even Titans changed up theirs for a little bit, just favoriting those secondary drop locations. But the rest of the teams, they still have 3 more maps that they need to adapt to. So let's head on into Miramar and see what they have in store for us.
Well, for now, it's just going to be plain and simple flight path, right? I had to put the pause in. I couldn't resist. But it does seem like we are coming in relatively centered on that western side. Yes, there we go. We do have the answer coming in right there alongside La Dralera. And of course, heading all the way up in towards Campo Militar. So it's not all too often that we see the flight path actually reaching all the way that far in towards that northeastern side. So we could see a few teams like Zero Tolerance, for instance, maybe opting for a bit of a play towards that direction. But as we know, they're not here right now. So we're not going to be seeing them pushing anywhere at this point in time. It's just wishful thinking. We're just taking all these positions into account as to where the teams could be trying to get themselves situated. But we are seeing the players there from Titan taking quite a preemptive push, pushing straight down in towards that Val del Mar. See, as there's all the water I was talking about. And now going to be looking to see where that next phase is going to be taking and how that rotational play will work out for them. But also, we've got the players there from VST dropping relatively close to 1 million. I mean, yes, this is Miramar. There's quite a bit of distance between both those teams. But in terms of Miramar, that is pretty close. But speaking about close, look at what we've got happening between the players from Lag, Legends of War, as well as 7 Reef there from Triple Esports.
Ooh, okay. So a little bit of an awkward situation here towards the center zone. And obviously, just off the side of that action, closer to Chimasera, we've got, of course, Virtual Gaming, who can join in at any moment. But I will tell you this, I am glad for Zero Tolerance's sake that they're not joining this Miramar, because I feel like they would have been a little bit, scared to drop Campo Militar, depending on this flight path. Just going right over your favorite location. Does signify a little bit of that hot drop action. Of course, we can see A9Q being confirmed quite quick in this first Miramar. We've seen this before happening, on the likes of Slime 4KT and Super Young Stars, but now, unfortunately, it is Legends of War who find themselves in a very scattered approach.
Yeah, but I mean, so far it's a good start coming through from Legends, right? Already finding that first elimination, getting the point in, taking Lag down to only 3, but now it is going to be Flick. Oh, they get ticked off the list here as they then get sent away, and it is Legends down to 3 alongside the 3 remaining hopefuls for the side of Lag. But it is a little bit of a more scattered out approach coming through for Lag, right? They have adopted that 2-1 split, with 1-9 being quite some distance away from the rest of the crew. Fantasy now having to face off here as well. Let's see where this one is going to be taken, but Merwing looking to go toe-to-toe with that 1v1 altercation. It's going to be coming down to who's able to find the spray downs first, but the Fantasy rocking that M249, that is going to be quite the advantage they have here with the spray down power.
Yeah, unfortunately for both Lag, for both Legends, they seem to have taken the same approach, wanted to take a scattered approach here towards the outskirts of Chimasera, a little bit closer towards the compounds, and then they find their individuals from their teams just mixed in with the likes of another. So now, as we do look, there is a little bit of a rotation from Obesa coming through to just back up the likes of Mooing as they're trying to keep Lag just on the outskirts. Just back off, Fantasy going to take Lag. Taking a little bit of some lead action as well to just make that confirmation come on through. Hello.
Wow, gonna like that though. There we go.
Well,
look at Mowing, just 1v4ing it to the next town. just raking in those eliminations, taking down the entirety of TEAMLAG. Wow.
Okay, no, this is not what I was expecting whatsoever. I mean, moving into, this altercation, you would have expected that disengagement to come on through, but obviously Lag trying to take, a book out of Legends of War's, or it's trying to take a page out of Legend. Wow, in English is hard. But taking a page, trying to in recover the numbers that they actually had, moved in for the backup, and no, it wasn't at all what they were planning. So the rest of the teams, of course, will be keeping an eye out on those elimination fees as they move in closer to their respective locations. Still seeing quite a few teams there towards Picado.
Yeah, there are quite a few teams towards that Picado position, but it's not going to be too much of a pressure play coming through on Mad Knight, right? Triple Esports, they have opted for that 2-2 split as well, but also still keeping to the high ground, not really venturing into a position to have a good line of sight down on towards, that full Picado kind of setup moving in there. But of course, jumping over on towards Tierra Bronca, we can see the players here from the Super Young Stars. Now, just again, continuing to roll through their looting phase, entirely uncontested, but not the greatest selection of, viable positions to move into to get that loot filled up.
No, unfortunately not. They will be looking for something, but in terms of the abilities that they have to moving on forward, it will be slim pickings. It really will be just picking up whatever they can find moving on forward. We do have one round in the vicinity as well, a little bit closer to that northern location, moving slowly but surely into the zone as well. While I'm keeping my eyes out on, of course, at the moment is going to be Wave and Myth, who are fairly close to one another, moving closer towards Picado and joining that fray of absolute madness in the center zone.
Well, I mean, we could see a little bit of that come through, but one thing that I want to see is Storm from Slime 4KT going up against Wave, because then I can really say, Wave looking to kick up a Storm, right, in a 1v4 altercation. That would be quite amazing. That would make so much sense right then and there. But for the time being, well, I'll have to settle for Buden coming through here from Desert Flame, who could be receiving a few welcoming heads coming through here from D3S with that extra bit of the bolty action. Nice 8-scope that they've got on there as well.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be feeling as welcomed as what you made it look to be. But yeah, absolutely just kitted to the T to ensure that this welcome is, well received. Of course, Buden just holding a crossfire as well, looking for anyone from Wave at this point in time, just to start bundling some of that damage. These long range engagements rather are going to be very, very important moving into the next phase as well, because any sort of openers they can find here, any sort of eliminations, just provide them some semblance of space and a breathing room to work in, because the center zone is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, because you want to try and alleviate a little bit of that pressure. And of course, it is going to be DWAS and the rest of the team here from Desert Flame now, who could be experiencing that firsthand. Flacco about to receive a bit of a nade coming through there from Broly. Of course, the spray down comes through, ripping them right out of that buggy, halting that rotation right then and there. But this is now the opportunity for the rest of Desert Flame to come back in retaliation, turn their focus on towards Myth, and look to just kind of clear out the way.
This definitely has to be a coordinated defense, because right now, Myth, they're bringing the coordinated assault, moving in with Broly and Ramsey, taking that angle towards Flacco, ensuring that there was an immediate knock. Now, Wave, of course, joining the fray. They hear all of this commotion going on. They know this is their opportunity to move into Desert Flame territory.
Well, let's see whether or not this is going to be Wave to sneak it through with that third-party play. They are being welcomed with a few of those utilities getting sent through there from Buden and the side of Glasa. But we did see that, that effort being applied on towards Flacco as they got sent away. And with that, it is Desert Flame down to their 3 final hopefuls. Let's see whether or not Buden and the rest of the crew can piece this one back together. Quite an aggressive front that they find themselves on. I mean, Wave and Myth not going to be making it easy by any measure.
No, absolutely not going to be alleviating any of this pressure as well, because as we mentioned, but all of these teams, they're fighting for not only some eliminations, some semblance of points, they're fighting to give themselves space into the center zone. As we can see in that mini map there on your screens, it is ridiculously stacked to the center zone. Of course, we know this is Miramar. They have a lot more space than what it looks like on that mini map, but it's not going to get any better. Now that zone shift should come through and also tell us, okay, how much time can they actually spend on this engagement?
Yeah, that is going to be the deciding factor, but it does seem like they can continue the altercation at least for a little while longer as that zone now centers up beautifully on towards that La Bendita and allowing the altercations to kind of develop even further. But speaking about it developing, right, we are seeing the players from Mad Knight also inching much, much closer, and that could actually ultimately result in Kingerman looking to be the first player from the side of Mad Knight to bring in a few contributions to this three-way fight that we see breaking out.
Alrighty, now let's take a look at this. Wave Esports, of course, they moved into this territory. They moved into this altercation. They started this with Desert Flame, and now maybe they'll be able to finish it as Zakaria finds Kalasa with a beautiful nade. The spray down continues as well, but the rest of the team, they're going to be joining the fray. It's only Diwa still left alive here for Desert Flame Esports, and all that they can really do is sit in this this little tiny building and hope that neither Myth nor Wave are going to be able to fight them. As I say it.
That's not going to pan out. At least not for now. And it is the end of Desert Flame. But the Wave and Myth still in a position where they can continue this altercation. We can see those trades looking to come on through. Of course, now Rhino just ducking and diving around those utilities, those nades as they are getting sent across. But Brody quickly looking to patch it up before continuing this altercation. And still, they can continue to ride the storm. But yes, indeed, it is going to be a moment as the super young stars come rolling through as well.
I love it. I love seeing all of these names jumping into the fray. This is the kind of engagements you would expect on Sanhok, but no, this is Miramar. I have to keep reminding myself, somehow, some way, the teams are finding this information and they are using it brilliantly. Of course, Wiki taking quite a bit of damage trying to join the action, but Super Young Stars will have that space, will have that cover to reset themselves before they fully invest in this engagement. Now, Myth finding themselves in that sandwich, not a dagwood, a sandwich, as Super Young Stars will also encumber the flanking maneuver that Myth were trying to pull with this 3-1 split.
Yeah, but it's not going to be a super aggressive play coming through from Super Young Stars. Just going to be looking to spread themselves out a little bit more, making those reaches just that extra little bit more challenging. But up comes Broly, though, up for the play as they look to find the head up onto Zakaria. Of course, the third-party angles being held there by Super Young Stars are going to be elevated at this point. But let's see Zakaria trying to see if they can get themselves out of this situation. The rest of the team being somewhat hesitant, not going to be full sending it on forward. But I'm loving these positions being held here by Broly and Ramsey, just so much so that they are making Wave quite nervous at this point in time.
I mean, my anxiety is through the bloody roof right now, because as I'm looking at this, we've got Myth now taking a piece of Super Young Stars. We've got so many teams within this vicinity as well that once again can get involved at any point in time. Wave now trying to look for that final aggression here towards Myth. They need some space before they even think about taking on Super Young Stars.
Yeah, well, they're definitely looking to create as much space as they can find here. But look at Ivar just on the front line. Zakaria gets traded on down as Broly puts that UMP to some good use. Up comes the heads, though. Looking to continue on with the blaze. Picking up yet another spray down. It is going to be Ivar to get taken down. Zakaria also then falls, and up comes the push. But Broly getting hit by those third-party players. 3DS coming in with a quick little bit of that bolt action. Rhino trying to ride the storm here, pushing further and further afield. D3S quickly taking a slight breather there as Farok now gets traded on down. Rhino might not have the numbers advantage in their favor, but it's definitely up to Rhino now to keep that front line defensive as tight as they can find it.
A small hesitation from Wave just to be able to react to the aggression that Myth were putting up, but is going to land them on a 2v4 as Allah is just going to stay back from Myth, and they're going to try and focus on placements here after. Myth, of course, not quite how they expected this to go, but definitely not how Wave wanted this to end, because now they're going to have to take that disengagement. They do not want to take this altercation with Super Young Stars. They're already at a back foot in terms of number. They're already at a back foot in terms of consumables, position. I mean, you can take a pick right now. This is not a winnable fight for them.
I mean, the odds of them winning the fight is looking very slim, right? But as we know, nothing is secured. Nothing is certain anything can change. And D3S's fate, for instance, can change here. And there it goes as Koa steps up with a nice third-party angle coming in. As Slime 4KT also now looks to push themselves closer and closer towards that zone. And it does seem like they are turning their attention onto the players here from the side of Wave. They've not yet found Mad Knight. They don't know about this, or not Mad Knight rather, the players from Super Young Stars. They are not aware of those positions up ahead just yet. But they will come to find out exactly what they have waiting for them as soon as they cross this ridgeline.
Oh, just a peeky, just a little bit of a hello, how's it going? Coming through here from Koa to put the final nail in the coffin here of Wave Esports. And now, well, they take their place as they look towards Super Young Stars in their position. We'll see how Super Young Stars are actually going to manage this. They would have seen the same information on the elimination feed and decided, well, maybe this is not exactly what they want to continue. Of course, one round in their navigational path if they should continue on this streak. And we'll have to take a look and see how they manage that, because we know they are just on the cusp of that zone. So they are still in safety. They don't have to worry about early rotations just yet, but maybe their position is not quite what they would want.
Yeah, it might not be the most ideal position to be holding at this point in time, but they're definitely going to be looking to try and improve that as much as they can. But I'm loving the fact that one round also now creeping on forward, and now that kind of pincer play or that pressure position is going to be applied on towards Super Young Stars. But of course, the zone itself will continue to shrink on forward. We now wait to see where this next phase will be taking us. With the players there from Triple Esports pushing up from that southern edge, are going to be finding themselves pulling in alongside Teak and Puncher should they continue with that trend. But the zone moving up so favorably now for Blackjack, just on towards that western edge of Los Leones.
Oh, this is the turnaround Blackjack Esports were looking for in their home turf zone. Blessed to the T. I mean, you can't really ask for anything better. Triple Esports, of course, now having to make a dash just behind Titans towards the southern point of the map into the zone. Of course, we see Kimo actually going down there to the play zone. Of course, a little bit of a later rotation from Triple, so unfortunately we'll see how they're able to manage these losses. I mean, they're not too far off. I think they can still make it happen, but we are 4 layers deep, so the rest of the teams, of course, managing those rotations swiftly.
Yeah, and of course, being several layers deep, the teams are going to look to peel back on the action here. As you can see, it is Mad Knight now looking to try and put up a bit of a play on the players from Slime 4KT. But as we move on towards the zone itself, it is Darkness and Virtual Gaming pulling in alongside each other, with Blackjack moving in on towards the elevated positions. And that is actually quite a formidable position that we see the players there from Blackjack looking to occupy. But Zeus just going to be trying to reach into the building, looking to find a few openings there. Hopefully, they could succeed in finding those additional hit markers. But now, looking at Zazal, this is where it could be looking quite different as the hits come pretty close to Virtual.
Oh, the pressure is on here for the teams to try and capitalize on some sort of an opportunity is going to be so tough with the resounding competition that they're going to have to face. Zeus, of course, now in a spot of trouble because Zala can just peek around and maybe drop a nade or two. The rest of Virtual Gaming, of course, here to back them up and here for the res, but for how much longer can they sustain this position? The rest of the teams will be moving in shortly, and then, well, they will be very exposed. No hard cover to work with. Legends of War now taking position up in the compounds, and we've got Blackjack now moving on the pressure and applying that to one round here.
Oh, but this could be on the money, right? This could be on the money now for Blackjack. Just to ride this one to the end. Super Young Stars moving in alongside one round. Could be alleviating a lot of that pressure coming through, but also a lot of the opportunities for Blackjack to reach in and pick up those trades. But it is going to be Phoenix now looking to find Chico, Eflex, and the rest of one round just hiding behind that ridge line. Seeing whether or not these plays are going to pan out. One round waiting in anticipation. They can hear those footsteps, but they want to see what is going to come through from that. It does seem like Blackjack are instead just looking to lock in those vehicles and get them a little bit more secured.
Absolutely, Nate's going to be popping on through. Moha just narrowly missing some very deadly action as Zane does go down to a very quick response from Eflex. These are the kind of trades, this is the kind of communication you are going to need in these later phases. No hesitation whatsoever is going to allow you to move on forward. You can see Phoenix already just trying to find an angle for that trade to come on through, but Chico's still applying the pressure here.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. Right, right. One round not backing out of this position just yet. Instead, they're going to be looking to find a way to match up alongside Blackjack here. But it's going to be Chronal to find the hits though on towards Eflex and Chico, getting 2 knocks down. And that could be that opening opportunity now for Blackjack to just come rushing down this heel side, pushing on towards Moa and Knight, and potentially sneaking in those eliminations as well. But here we go. It's going to be Chronal and MG now to join up and fortify the position on the very ridge line. An opportunity now presents itself on towards Moha. Chico getting re-knocked. Up comes the spray. Phoenix going to be looking to push on forward. They do succeed in finding it, but not out of the woods entirely. Up comes Knight. Oh, gets the beautiful response right up in towards them. And this could be that comeback coming through from Knight. It is going to be up to Chronal, trying to close it up here. Finds a bit of an opportunity, is cooking up the nade, but will he succeed in finding the angle, though? Knight also just up ahead.
Ooh.
Oh, it overreaches entirely, and that is the saving grace that one round now needs.
Oh, just that nade line made me so nervous here for one round esports. They get the rest coming on through. Even Chronal, MG are back up on their feet. So this will really be a push for the finish, a fight to the finish rather, as the meds will come on through. Blackjack now trying to spread out, make sure that there are no clusters, no opportunities for double nade action here. But Eflex moving up on this ridge could provide them with the line of sight here to take Blackjack out for once and for all.
Oh, it could very well be on the money right here. But now, all the hope, all the pressure riding on MG. Up comes the rush, gets spotted out in the smoke, and down they go as Moha just lets that Scar 20, the Scar 14, just Scar L rather. Wow, just letting it rip all the way on through. Beautiful turn of events. But as we jump a little bit further on towards that more western side of the zone, see 1 million now trying to sneak on forward. Darkness going to be trying to pick up a few trades. Finds quite a bit of damage moving in, and it's going to be Lazy Boy to get taken down by the blue zone.
Yeah, there was a little bit of vehicle shenanigans happening here, but 1 million will also make a dash straight through Super Young Stars and their territory. So, unfortunately, they will have to say goodbye to Marshall as Venom just narrowly makes it into the zone with, well, you can see how much HP they currently have. They'll be able to get those reses coming on through, but it is down to only 2 members here for 1 million, and I'm not even sure that Senke can actually make a dash to join up Marshall's position.
Yeah, I'm also not 100% convinced on that just yet, but let's see how this unravels as it is now up to Venom trying to lock this position down. Up comes the push. Oh, finds quite a bit of a damage there. Also takes a considerable chunk of damage. But Winky, quickly just trying to reposition themselves, waiting for a bit of an opportunity. That the buggy being quite interestingly parked there. Vehicles just ablaze all over the place. But yes, Venom getting caught in the fray. It is going to be Winky to get traded on down. And now it turns to Mord and Zephyrev to try and keep the hopes for Super Young Stars alive.
And on the other hand, it is Senke here for 1 million trying to survive, hoping for an opportunity to get a res in, but I don't see it happening anytime soon because what a dash they would need to make right through Super Young Stars, right in the crosshairs here of one round to hold a beautiful high-rise position. But again, all of this great positioning, it's outside of the zone. It's actually Venom inside the zone. So all of the teams, they have to make a push in to join Titans in that safety of zone and find a better position here for the final phase. As we can see, Virtual Gaming just keeping a watchful eye on that ridgeline, potentially spotting out one round. It does look like Zeus has some sort of indication that there are definitely a few potential eliminations just lurking about.
Oh, yes, maybe even more than a few potential plays, right? Still 20 players remain, but this is what a play coming in here as Messi just lights it up, finding beautiful hits. Of course, a great assist coming through there from Axel of Titan. But now, one round getting caught in such a compromised position. Not quite sure whether or not they'll be able to get themselves out of that pressure cooker. Meanwhile, it will be Senke to get traded on down. Off they go. Down to the final 6 teams we are. And of course, quite a few stragglers now starting to appear across the map.
I mean, even M7MD from Triple Esports joining Titans in that southern part of the zone. It is, of course, Super Young Stars moving in from this northwestern position alongside VST and, of course, alongside Storm from Slime 4KT, who's also the last remaining hopeful there for their team. Now, Titans in one round of fighting here for supremacy of the northern position of the zone. We can see Puncher already cooking up a beautiful nade. There is some backup in the form of one round, also moving on in, but unfortunately, that rotation won't be an option. Titans hold 4 players in this final zone.
Well, I mean, once we see Titans with 4 players, we know where this is heading, right? We've seen this enough times to know what to expect. But we are having a 4v3, v2, v1. The team coming in with 1 is going to be none other than Slime 4KT as well as Triple Esports. Still trying to keep their teams in contention. But the Super Young Stars looking pretty golden here. 8 eliminations locked into their name. Titans also sitting on 8. But this is the kind of increase that we want to see come through from the Super Young Stars, right? We know coming into this match, they were situated much further down, all the way in that 9th position. They can definitely benefit on locking in a few more points. But, I mean, if no one's going to be able to stop Titans, right, I'm feeling quite fearful for what we're going to be seeing coming through in this next few phases.
As we know, they've already found themselves 139 points. So we need to stop them at some point, DK. They are starting to just run away from the rest of the competition. Hopefully, Super Young Stars might be on the cards here to put an end to the reign of terror from Titans, or maybe it will be VST. Either way, though, these teams definitely need to rotate themselves if they want to be in a competitive position to actually give Titans a run for their money. But VST raining hellfire down onto Seraph. The nades are just absolutely pinpoint accurate. Mord, on the other hand, has at least managed to get to the first floor.
I mean, that's the first step of many, but here comes the spray now from Xerxes, trying to close this one up. Mord now in quite a bit of trouble, of course. It's going to be VST hoping to defend their possession here to the very, very finish. I'm loving this full-on front being put up. It's going to be Fivo also now on that aggression, and it is going to be up to Messi. Looking to see if they can find the opportunity here. Super Young Stars really having their numbers starting to dwindle, but out comes the utility. Titans also starting to push on forward because Seek, Teak, and Puncher are trying to line up, waiting for that entry angle. Up they come. Ooh, and this is where VST will now have their wits absolutely tested.
Absolutely. It's going to come down to who spots who first and who's going to be able to get that line of sight happening here. As Super Young Stars do get confirmed out, Storm out in the blue zone. For how much longer they're alive, that's going to be a question up to, of course, Axo, who's just tunneling utility after utility. And Storm won't be having a lot of options after this. P6 going to be sending out a nade as well, just to the face of Storm. And that is the confirmation we needed. Now, all the attention turns to VST, as we only have 1 remaining for Triple Esports and 2 from VST up against the 4 of Titans, who were just looking absolutely dominating in their presence.
Yeah, Titans definitely looking like big bullies right here. They have the controlling numbers. They have an absolutely insane number of eliminations to their name as well, sitting on 11. But they're going to be patiently waiting to see what will come from that position of VST, right? Xerxes now getting picked up on the roof. Axel with such a phenomenal off-angle position here. I'm loving how Titans are just utilizing the available space, playing this at such a high level, making it so difficult for anyone to be a strong contender. But here we go, right? M7 now just trying to survive. This nade could be the one to close off the match, and that is indeed exactly what it is, as AXA takes the final elimination and secure themselves yet another winner chicken dinner, that now being their 3rd one and 14 eliminations alongside that.
You mentioned them making fantastic use of their space, fantastic use of that final zone, and that is a result of them making that early rotation. They were one of the first teams in that entire cataclysmic event to find their footing in the zone first. That is the prime example of just focusing on rotations, for getting yourself as much of that coverage as possible, really utilizing the buildings, the terrain, just the space you have available, and, well, taking full control of that. And that's exactly what Titans did there in the later phases, but picking up an insane amount of eliminations alongside a winner chicken dinner. As you mentioned, not something we're really not accustomed to when it comes to Titans.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely Titan setting the standard pretty high and creating an entirely different level of expectation of what the other teams are yet to try and master. But of course, speaking of which, we are going to be taking a very quick break, so be sure to stay tuned. I'll be with you guys in a short few moments.
If only I had a weapon, I would take over the punching kick.
That's nothing. I clearly took down the enemy. If we were to keep the score, it would definitely be higher than me.
If I hadn't thrown the wrong grenade, I'd be eating chicken dinner for sure. What's wrong, guys?
If you don't agree, let's play Ultimate Arena.
Arguments don't matter. Ultimate Arena decides the victor.
Hello and welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall Split here for 2022. Of course, a very exciting day too so far as we just wrapped up our third match over on Miramar, seeing Titans locking in yet another winner chicken dinner. That, of course, being their third one for the second week. Absolutely phenomenal show of aggression coming through from Titans.
They're leaving me speechless at this point in time. I'm very tired of breaking down how Titans are so dominating. I need the answer from these teams. But let's take a look at the match rankings to see how exactly they pulled it off. Picking up 15 points for placement, of course, with that winner chicken dinner, and 14 eliminations, nearly once again matching that 30-point game. But VST very close in contention as well in those final moments, trying to fight against Titans alongside Super Young Stars and Slime 4KT as well with Triple Esports. So there were quite a few contenders in the final moments, but unfortunately they didn't match the numbers from Titan Gaming.
I mean, it's quite difficult to match those numbers, right? Titans just playing this at an entirely different level, setting the standard, the expectation, the bar so exceptionally high, making it quite challenging for anyone else to catch up. But that is a great level of increase that we see coming through from Titans, right? We know in the first week they ended up in second place collectively, finishing on 266 points behind the players from Slime 4KT. But it seems like Slime at this point experiencing such a dominating performance coming through from Titan. Slime is really struggling to kind of build up that momentum once again.
Yeah, we saw those final moments. I mean, just hiding behind one, sliver of a wall, getting pummelled with utilities. Not a lot of options left after that one, and as you take a look at the second page, of course, we know that there were a few teams that didn't quite have the start they would have wanted. Desert Flame running into that crazy contention with Myth and Super Young Stars, and even Wave that joined in the fray, so it wasn't quite the start they would have wanted alongside Wave Esports, but a few of the teams at least managing to pick up some great eliminations. Mad Knight, I'm keeping an eye on you, Team Myth as well, picking some very, very good fights engagements.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite relieved to see the players there from Mad Knight still locking in those points, right? 5 points will really bode them well with regards to those overall rankings. And that's the kind of focus that the teams need to maintain, right? Not only are they playing for their positioning in this phase, in this week, but they're also playing to add those additional points to the running score that we have going as well. So a lot of these efforts, of course, will be rewarded for these teams succeeding in achieving those really insane numbers. And of course, one of the ways that the teams achieve that is through playing the way that they played moving into this last match.
Of course, the upper moments for that second Miramar of the day, rather. We started off with Lag and Legends of War having a bit of a very contentious fight back and forth. We even saw the remainder of Lag putting off a little bit of those stunt actions. X Games modes just moving on in with those buggies as we just saw. But Merving was just so good with the trigger, picking up the entirety of Lag Esports just with those 4 eliminations.
I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal to see. I mean, like, Mowing just stepping up with such pinpoint precision accuracy there. I mean, that's the kind of play that is going to do some great things for Legends of War moving forward. And I want to see Mowing continue on with those strategies, right? We want to see those gun skills being utilized as we progress into our remaining matches still for today. But of course, as we know, right, having just concluded Miramar, next up, we are going to be moving closer towards Erangel to see what the teams are going to be bringing in as they move into the bread and butter of PUBG. But before we go anywhere, we need to take a look and see what the overall point situation is.
And Titan Gaming, once again, leading the pack. I'm going to keep saying that for a while until some of these teams catch up. It is 160 points. That is currently the bar that Titans are setting with a phenomenal start to the second week. A crazy performance from them is leading us to wonder, okay, well, when is someone going to be toppling the Titans? It is Leaders Esports in second place there with 105 points, getting closer and closer because of the phenomenal eliminations they keep finding. They keep finding themselves in those top 3 placements and really getting close to picking up some winner chicken dinners. But of course, we know today alone, Seoul Esports has already stolen one away from them, sitting on 90 points and showing a very good just bout of consistency.
Yeah, definitely showing a great bout of consistency coming through there. But I want to say I'm quite still relieved to see TEAMLAG, Super Young Stars, Virtual Gaming, and Darkness, right? Keeping that pressure up, even though they're not having the most successful runs, you know, on a regular enough basis, they are having these moments of absolute phenomenal plays, which just works out for them. And that is keeping them just well ahead of the second page.
Oh, and as we take a look at that second page in particular, we've got 1 million leading the pack on this side of things with 41 points. And as we look at those points in particular, I mean, it's 2 points from 9th to 10th place. It's 1 point from 10th to 11. You see, I can do math sometimes. It's 4 points from 11 to 12. Look, I keep showing off. What can I say? But it is a very close, contentious side of the second page. It is one good game that will literally send you up these overall rankings because we are so early in this week. We still have so many games left. I mean, we're literally only on the second day of phase 2. So there's a massive opportunity for teams to catch up now rather than when it is at that point where we have Titans, for example, running away with a 60+ point gap.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you need to try and capitalize on any and every opportunity to come on through. We are seeing the scores as we progress onto that next page still being, as you said, right, quite close together. There's not a lot really separating the teams from the top of that second page to the teams situated a little bit further down on towards this third page. And all that is required is one beautiful game to come through. And we could see a team like Arab Golden, Legends of War, Zero Tolerance Skills, and even Mad Knight just catapulting themselves well up in towards that second page, putting themselves that much closer to making a run for getting a strong, solidified placement over on towards the top of that first page, potentially even.
Now, DK, because you keep putting me in the hot seat asking for predictions, as we move into Erangel, I want a little bit of predictions from you, or at least just which are some of, let's say, the 2 teams you are keeping an eye out for?
Ooh, 2 teams, right. So I want to see Legends of War not only mowing, coming in with the squad wipe like we saw over on Miramar, but I want to see, you know, a bit of a push coming through. But having said that, I just realized that, well, we're not seeing Legends of War playing this match. So that's what I would have said, you know, had this been their Erangel. But aside from that, I want to see Arab Golden and Zero Tolerance. I want to see those pushes. I want to see those plays because they've shown these moments, right? And just as I think my urge is getting satisfied, right? Like, I'm like, oh, yes, here they go. Then, like, it's short-lived. I want to see more. I want to see them push all the way through.
No, absolutely. And again, we've had a lot of those teams just teasing those performances, you know, just dangling like, hey, we know how to play this game, but we're not going to do that right now. Like we had Desert of Flame starting on Sunday and Saturday, I believe, as well, just with some crazy performances, getting into the top 2. I think they were even one team or one placement away from actually taking winner chicken dinner on Miramar. I believe it was maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. Don't quote me because my math is not great, as we know. But some of the other teams as well, just starting with that performance, just showcasing that, yes, they have this ability, but then they are unable to bring it through as a consistent, you know, level of performance. And again, there's a lot of factors that go into that. There are factors like Titan Gaming picking up a crazy start into this week. There are factors like Slime 4KT also having a little bit of a different start. I mean, Darkness stepping up. There's so many teams that are changing the way that they're doing things, which are forcing the rest of the squads to, even though they're also trying to change things, not quite have the impact that they are looking for.
Yeah, and I think that is part of the challenge that they are facing, right? Is having to continuously adapt to the surprises coming in their direction. It's not necessarily surprises that you yourself as an individual or as a team can prepare for. Right? I think that's the kind of adaptation that comes through with experience. Because
Oh, yes.
I don't think there's any other way of really coping with such aggressive plays getting thrown in your direction. I mean, aside from the fact that when Titans step up, when they participate in the game, it results in some beautiful performance. But now this is Erangel, right? Titans not playing right now, so we
No.
get to see what the rest of the lobby is doing, irrespective of where Titans currently find themselves.
And as you mentioned, a good point is experience. That experience is also something that a lot of the teams are able to fall back on when pretty much everything and anything is just not going the way that they were planning. It's not going towards their strategy. They're not able to take their usual rotation because, well, the zone decided it doesn't want to shift that way. Or, team decided it wants to move into that location. Or the pressure is just so high that you are literally not able to think right now. And that's when that experience kicks in. That's when that muscle memory comes to fruition. And we see the teams being able to manage situations that are in any other sense of the word unmanageable. They are just impossible. So massive experience for these teams is going to be able to give them that jumping pad, that opportunity to move on forward when there seems to be no hope to as well. And as we know, because of the break from spring to PMPL fall, a lot of these teams have had opportunities like in the Middle East and Africa Championships, like in the World's Invitational. I'm looking at you, Virtual Gaming. I'm looking at the teams that have had these opportunities to really just widen their approach and widen their perspective on PUBG Mobile.
Yes, I have to agree with you quite a bit on that one, right? I mean, you are smack dab on the money, right? I couldn't have said it any better myself.
I can
well
word
done, Ez.
sometimes.
So proud, so proud. But
English
yes,
sometimes.
yeah, you really nailed the English on that one. Well done. But now we're in that position once again, right? Even though there seems to be a little bit more of that tranquility coming through the map, the teams all respecting their space. I want to see what strategies they're gonna look to try and utilize moving through this game, right? Slime for the time being, they got to be going about their usual business, right? Getting themselves situated up in towards Yasnaya. But Slime is another team that stands out considerably for me in this point, right? Because looking at the performance we had from them previously in the spring season, it was a good performance, but it fails in comparison to the performance we are having from them this season around over in fall. Absolutely mind-blowing change that we've seen come through from Slime.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason we saw them actually taking the first place and the most amount of bonus points from our first week. They ended the week with 301 points. All right, they're a serious competitor, and they were. In terms of positioning, the only team that was second to them was Titan Gaming, our current leaders, with 266 points. So Titans have already had to make a massive improvement just to be able to not only compete with Slime 4KT, but now to potentially take them over. It is a massive bar that they have set, and now seemingly Titans are taking up with an absolutely beautiful energy. But again, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Titan's not involved in this Erangel. Who are involved, it is Slime 4KT there towards Yasnaya Poliana. It is also the likes of, I would say a good focus is Leaders Esports, who have had such phenomenal performances where, again, they're not quite getting the winner chicken dinner, but they're getting very close, and they pick up double-digit eliminations so consistently, almost more consistently than any other team other than Titans.
Yeah, and that is in essence the kind of performance that you want to try and play for, right? Is the chicken dinner itself is nice to have, to see that number increasing alongside your name, but the main focus should be put on acquiring a strong amount of eliminations, a strong amount of placement points, right? That meaning, third, second, first, if you want to. But again, that is where that's the kind of the golden spot, and that's why we see a team like Slime4 KT in that first week, like the players from Titans coming through in this week, just absolutely demolishing the opposition because they are just in a position where they can really capitalize on those points, and they can do so on a very, very consistent basis.
Absolutely, and this is what we love to see from these teams. It's just that the theme of consistency, and what's consistent is, well, Morteza being able to be the bullet shield here for the side of leaders, and unfortunately, Zala will be able to get that confirmation, at least for the knock for the time being. But looking at the position that Morteza is in, I do not see a res in their future, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I also just tried looking into my crystal ball, and I also didn't see any of that being an option just yet. But who knows, right? Maybe I just looked at it in the wrong way, because looking at the front that Darkness is putting up here, yes, it is going to be quite a bit of a challenge. But Shadowin is not one to shy away from a challenging position, and who knows? Maybe leaders could succeed in getting that res up in towards Morteza, but it is going to require quite a bit of work to come from leaders esports.
Oh yeah, you can say that again. That's maybe a little bit of a sugarcoat coming on through, but ooh, a little bit of an elimination there on towards Tornado will definitely go a long way in giving leaders esports the necessary space to be able to make this happen. As we know, Darkness, they only have 3 players in this Erangel to begin with. It's only Ghost and Zala now left alive. So leaders esports, they're getting closer and closer to equal footing in terms of numbers. Unfortunately, those confirmations came through, and they are still looking at a 2. Maybe on 3.
Yeah, I mean, they are going to be looking to lock in those confirmations, and just come back with a bit of a vengeance on towards the players there from the side of Darkness. But again, Darkness now assessing the situation, starting to take a little bit more of a spread approach, and not going to be sticking around all too long to have those continuations, turn into reality. But of course, if we look a little bit further away, we can see the teams that are coming from those more outlying regions starting to converge in towards center zone, and that is the kind of shift that we are seeing being utilized a lot more, especially in this phase, right? The team's definitely putting a lot more emphasis on getting themselves situated towards that center zone. And now with that shift coming through, we are going to be seeing a little bit of a mass migration coming in from that southeastern edge.
We do like to see a little bit of the change coming on through. Of course, Virtual Gaming just keeping their eyes peeled here toward Wave Esports, who are also moving in the cavalry alongside Virtual Gaming. All of these squads, both of these teams rather, just converging on this location, looking to potentially invest in this altercation moving on forward. Of course, taking some control of this compound, moving into the next phase might be a really good option for some of the teams. So I'm not blaming Virtual Gaming for actually looking to take this away from Wave Esports.
Well, they are definitely going to be putting in quite a strong effort to accomplish that. But here we go, right? Wave, we saw them presenting themselves as quite a formidable force coming through earlier. But now, will they succeed in replicating those efforts once again? Or already finding that knock up into Yafos? Gaddafi still holding on that front line. I'm liking that off-angle position coming through from Zeus. And the play of one shot. But now the utilities will rain on in. It is going to be the damage to connect itself on towards Gaddafi. Down they go. And this is that opportunity now for the players from Virtual Gaming to strike back with meaning.
Absolutely. Just put their foot down and say, listen, we're not happy with this, all right? You can't just pull up on our territory and decide to take it away from us. But, yeah, of course, finding a connection there onto D3S might mean that the end is in near sight here for Wave Esports as it turns to Rhino and Ivar to turn it around. And hopefully Rhino will be able to find this connection on towards Zeus, because that will give them the space they need to move on forward.
Yeah, well, neither Rhino nor Ivar are out of contention just yet, right? They're still going to be looking to put up quite a formidable force here against the players from Virtual Gaming. As you can see, Gaddafi now getting rest back on up. It is up to Zeus. We get to see what they can find and maybe make a play out of that. But now, the wall is that position. Quickly just vaulting over, moving into the compound. Rhino, he has those footsteps. Oh! Locks it in. Down goes Zeus. The rush going to come through. This could be the play. Let's see whether or not Rhino's going to be able to clean it up all the way on through. Oh, steps up, gets traded on down, but up comes D3S to save the day. And with that, it is going to be Virtual Gaming getting sent away in 16th position.
Oh, not how they would have wanted that to go, but at least an elimination will be on the cards for them. At one little point, they're not going to be able to take donuts this time around, and that is actually a good thing. I know that doesn't sound like a good thing, but it's a good thing. I swear. We'll explain a little bit later. In the meanwhile, Seoul and of course Arab Golden, well, unsurprisingly, being one of the two teams to a later rotation than the rest as they move on through from that military base island. Seoul Esports potentially looking to join the side of Wave Esports, looking at the position that they are taking in Arab Golden, might find themselves just behind Mad Knight or VST Gaming.
Well, they definitely could, but there's going to be a little bit of work still having to come through from Arab Golden, quite a substantial distance away from that zone. But as we look in towards the phase itself, right, Triple Esports already looking to get themselves situated up in towards that container yard, waiting to see where this next phase will go. But look at what Millions play, right? Going for that 2-2 split. We see Lazy Boy and Senke moving into Cube, with the rest of the squad situated just across the way in those compounds that we saw them in. But now that zone takes a bit of a swing, and this is where 1 million finds themselves just looking absolutely golden. They've already got that anchor point set up, and now they can just lock in the defensive plays, as we are going to be seeing quite a bit of focus being put in, especially towards that bridge.
Absolutely. And Super Young Stars, well, they can just sit pretty because they have been zone blessed to the absolute T, and they're just sitting and waiting for all of these teams to make their dash for the bridge. As we can see, it's now Darkness and Lag that are in a little bit of a hot car pursuit here, a little bit of Tokyo Drift action as we head on into the bridge. And yeah, you are going to be drifting on back to the lobby 1-9 as the rest of Lag not looking too healthy.
Yeah, but Darkness also now getting traded off as 1 million looks to capitalize on their position up in Cube. Lag now trying to assess the situation and where to go from here. But up comes that mobilization as 1 million looks to deploy their strategy. We've got Lazy Boy and Marshall trying to lock up the position towards that western edge. Lag now trying to get a quick bit of a saving play, rushing through the mess here. But this could be the end as A9Q could be receiving quite a few hits. Yes, takes quite a bit of a beating, but just narrowly escapes the onslaught coming through from Venom. Will he make it all the way? No, down he goes. Venom with the laser focus. Now the pressure turns to Fantasy and 1-9 looking to see if they are going to be looking to rotate up alongside a very similar fate as the rest of their team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a bit of a difficult one as we see 1-9 still just trying to hold on for dear life alongside Fantasy, moving on through to a little bit more of this outskirt position, maybe making a dash into the water. We'll have to wait and see. They might still be able to take another crack at this bridge crossing, but of course VST just behind them. We've got one round up ahead of them. It is going to be a very difficult approach. I am curious, though, to see if they might be able to get that res onto Gaga. But in the meanwhile, one round at Triple Esports, they find one another in a fashion that Triple Esports and one round are not quite happy about.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely crazy. But here we go, right? The nades getting cooked up once again. One round triple. Getting ready to kind of wrap up this fight. But this could be the one now for one round. Oh, M7 on the defensive, but they fall. Not going to be enough to keep one round at bay. Up comes yet another trade, and it is Knight now looking to close it up. All the hopes now right on Black 7. See whether or not they are going to be deciding to stick around or maybe look to disengage. But they do have very limited options at this point in time, as we see VSC right behind them. Fivo getting drawn in by the action unfolding up ahead. But Knight has got that nade ready to roll, and this could be the fate for Black, now sealed, signed, and delivered.
Oh, we move into the rest of shooting range. Of course, we've got Seoul Esports and Slime 4KT finding one another here towards just the edge of that eastern portion of the zone. Of course, Triple Esports here still in contention, trying to make their move into the zone. Once again, VST being that threat. Seoul Esports now being confirmed back into the lobby thanks to Slime 4KT. And Lag, in the meanwhile, have chosen to poke the bear of 1 million Esports. And so far, they're doing quite well, picking up at least one knock.
Yeah, definitely Lag rushing in with a few sharp sticks there, as they are able to penetrate right up into Marshall. Now, quite a bit of damage being dealt onto its Lazy Boy, but Fantasy going to be feeling the pressure as Venom comes rushing around the corner. Senke sends out the nade to try and lock that in, and they succeed. The confirmation follows through, but look at the angles being held here. Venom just looking to capitalize as best they can. And everything now relying solely on a 1-9, trying to find a vehicle. but not the greatest the choice or selection of vehicles to make much use of. As we look down towards that bridge once again, we can see the players here from Mad Knight still trying to get themselves sorted. Quite a bit of distance yet to try and cover, but up they come making that dash. The Bee's going to come flying straight on through.
This is a little bit of a trap here for Zero Tolerance because, as we know, they've got 2 players invested in this side of the bridge. They've got another 2 up ahead holding the other side of this rotation. So if the first 2 fail, the second 2 might move on suit. Ooh, we can see Vortex, just a helping hand from the other side, as we were mentioning. So the trap has been laid for Zero Tolerance, and they've just caught themselves the likes of Mad Knight.
Well, absolutely crazy plays coming out, but up they come though. It's going to be up to Paradox looking to close it off. The final contender now left for Mad Knight. It's going to be Kingerman making that dash back into safety while the rest of the team now falls. Paradox just locking in those points, and that is what you need to do. Zero Tolerance going to be looking to ride on high, but Paradox in a very challenging position here, right? The vehicle is a smoke, almost ablaze. And just 1 or 2 more hits is all that's needed for that vehicle to go pop. But a good kind of a gatekeep being set up there by Zero Tolerance, as we are yet to see the players from, well, Legends and Mad Knight secure themselves into the zone.
And now we take a look at what is happening here for the rest of the teams. As we know, a lot is on the line here, especially looking at the eliminations that have been able to be picked up. I mean, Wave Esports sitting with 4 eliminations, 1 million being able to pick up 4 as well, managing to keep their numbers in a very good setting as well. A lot of as wells in that sentence, but it counts nonetheless. Of course, you know, Arab Golden making a little bit of that wider rotation, moving into the northern portion of the zone, but they have to take that alongside Slime 4KT, and Plaza will be the first with the trigger on lockdown as they make sure that Arab Golden are going to be very, very touched to try and make this happen.
Yeah, and Slime as well as the players there from Arab Golden now having to kind of find a way to secure themselves over on towards this northeastern side. I mean, I'm not feeling too worried about that position coming through from 1 round, but this is where Slime and Arab Golden needs to be very selective with how they choose to rotate on forward. In the meanwhile, it is going to be wasted to get taken on down, and that means the end for Leaders Esports. The remaining 11 teams now looking to kind of get themselves situated back up in towards this next zone shift, and we're waiting in anticipation to see whether it's going to be going. Quite a lot of that edge positional plays coming through here, but up comes Angelo looking to find a bit of a play to make. It is going to be a nice receiving and warm welcome from Slime 4KT.
And as you can see, a lot of the teams just trying to keep to the outskirts of this zone before the next shift obviously moved on through, because there's not a lot of cover to work with, and the teams are trying to keep their numbers in check as much as possible. Unfortunately, we will be saying goodbye to Desert Flame and Arab Golden, who gets sent back into the lobby in a very quick succession. But our eyes turn, of course, here to Super Young Stars and Wave Esports. Now, of course, Super Young Stars, they hold the zone. They hold position in the zone. Wave Esports, they unfortunately have to make that rotation up north into Super Young Stars, but of course, Zero Tolerance luring in the back is going to be quite the threat.
Yeah, and I mean, even if Wave decides to rotate west, it's still going to be quite the challenging play, because Super Young Stars, as we can see, they have that slightest bit of elevation to their advantage. But it could also mean quite a bit of a saving grace here for Wave, because we do have that ridge that, you know, is kind of being present as a result of that elevation coming through. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how they play that one out. Meanwhile, we don't have to wait to see what 1 round is looking to bring on forward, as they now start pushing closer, just getting themselves situated on towards this very edge of zone. But they are going toe-to-toe with Slime 4KT, as we can see Plaza now just looking to get themselves amped up and ready to roll.
Absolutely. Get the momentum going, get the fire started, and hopefully we'll be seeing these teams really bringing the aggression and the level of performance we know them to be able to do. Of course, 1 round now taking piece here of 1 million in the form of Venom, who is trying to make that dash into the zone and will be confirmed out by the looks of it. Now, Zero Tolerance once again turning their attention here to VST and the next team that they will be entrapping, trying to get themselves into the zone.
Well, a very quick response coming through here from Zuxi. Not going to let too much of that flow on through. Of course, we'll get to see if they can maybe find a few additional points. But it is going to be quite a bit of a challenging play yet to come, as we are down to 7 teams, 22 players still alive. Rhino and the rest of the players from Wave, we saw them, that strong effort being brought in before. But let's see, will they be able to replicate it once again? Will they succeed and finding a favorable finish moving in towards Erangel. But looking at the zone itself, the eastern side looking relatively comfortable in comparison to what we have kind of, evolving with towards this western side.
Ooh, okay, now we take a look at the zero tolerance, trying to restrain themselves before they push on in and too far past the point of return. It's VST and Wave that are, of course, just applying the pressure here for Skydo and Lord to try and move on forward, to try and just focus on the rest of the squads. VST now being confirmed out by the looks of it, thanks to, of course, Wave Esports 3-3S just moving on through with laser pinpoint accuracy. Lord and Skydo trying to find an angle into this aggression. A couple of utilities to be able to use here. They still got 4 more nades after this, and if they can just get that connection onto D3S, maybe they can move on forward.
Yeah, but it's going to be a pretty challenging play. Wave definitely coming across as a very formidable team, right? I'm liking this mentality change up that they are showing here. Really sticking to the aggression, as we can see already those 5 eliminations to their name. And they are sitting with 3 players up, but it is going to be Skydo and Lord now to feel that pressure as Lord gets traded down. Senke and Marshall is going to be moving on through. Oh, but the nade finds its place right there in and amongst Senke. Oh, but it is locked in for Skydo as Ivar just peers across that ridge and spots them out.
Recovery is going to be on the books here for Slime 4KT. They will be able to get those med kits popped off, and Senke will be able to get to a bit of a better standing in terms of HP. But of course, they still have quite the navigation to move on through. We can see Lazy Boy trying to get a bit of a scouting position in the zone, but they get a little bit of a surprise in the form of Wave Esports. Thankfully, though, the recovery is there from the rest of the team, and Wave will be confirmed out, giving 1 million the space they need into that next zone. But this is not over just yet. We've got Super Young Stars. We've got 1 round still in high contention for this winner chicken dinner.
Yeah, quite a bit of contention coming through here. Our final 3 teams, 4v4v3, right? Looking quite favorable now. Oh, here for the Super Young Stars, finding the spray on towards Marshall. Gets the confirmation as well, but they near instant knock coming in retaliation as well. Messi and Zeref both getting downed, almost getting locked in, and this could be that opportunity for 1 round to just capitalize on their third-party position here. But we are seeing those nades getting sent across as Murt finds this right on in. There we go. It is the knock up on towards Lazy Boy. But Senke right there to bring in that helping hand, that extra bit of assistance. But Senke devastating with the nades. Up comes the bounce. Oh!
Yes!
And they succeed in getting yet another elimination to their name.
And another double elimination with a frag grenade. I mean, come on, Senke. What are these nades? What are we doing here? Mord, unfortunately, going down. Winky now up for the chop block here because they have so much work up ahead of them. She is going to be looking to try and get that res popped on through, but not a lot of cover to do with. As we can see, just behind that tree line, it is, of course, 1 round that is applying the pressure here to 1 million, and they might turn their attention towards Super Young Stars at any given notice. So hopefully they will be able to be quick, get the res, try and get those meds, popped off, and get their numbers into a better position.
Yeah, they're definitely going to put in a strong effort to accomplish just that. But now, right, 1 million still trying to deal with the threat coming through there from the Super Young Stars. But it seems like 1 round, they're going to be taking on both teams. As you can see, those angles looking quite favorable. Is going to be Knight now looking to push the vehicle a little bit closer, putting up to that loot drop. Just want to grab an extra little bit of a top up there, getting that level 3 gear. You can see the back now getting filled on through. But up comes this positional play, looking to see where they'll be looking to actually find these angles, right? 1 million sitting on 9. 1 round sitting on 9. Super Young Stars sitting on only 1 elimination to their name. Quite the play to be had here, but Winky and Mort could maybe step up and bring quite of an impact.
1 round, of course, here towards the high rise, really looking like the potential winner chicken dinners winners, as we know. But, of course, we know 1 million and Super Young Stars potentially going to be standing in their way. At least they would like to, as they hold a position that's not quite favorable for them, trying to move on closer and closer. But with the number advantage that 1 round have, they really have an opportunity just to manage their navigation into the zone.
Yeah, they definitely have great opportunity at hand here, but now they should not waste that opportunity. In fact, they should just capitalize on it and look to apply as much aggression and dominance as they can, right? They have the controlling positions, they've got those elevated grounds, but eFlex now just, prepping themselves up for a little bit of a barrage of those grenades to rain across. Waiting to see if they can spot any of those pixels out of place. Sends out the nade, doesn't really reach all the way across to find damage on towards Lazy Boy and Senke on that opposite end. But I'm liking this prioritization, right? Keeping the angle steady. And now, Super Young Stars also just steadily waiting on the edge, waiting to see where this next phase will force them to move towards.
Let's take a look at this Winky, of course, just snaking in the grasses, has managed, of course, to get that res on through to Mort. So they have pretty good numbers, at least in contention with 1 million esports. Oh, but Knights just looking. I think they've spotted that pixel. Going to be the step up here. Is going to find that trade onto Winky. Immediate turnaround for Mort, but unfortunately, the drop down from one round is just too quick. Knight is still up, and Adam to just deal a little bit of chaos here to Super Young Stars.
Oh, but Mort managing to evade that damage. But now it's going to come that push. Let's see whether or not they get it. Yes, they do indeed. As the Sharks connect on through, it is going to be Knight to lock it in. And it is going to be Super Young Stars to get sent out in that third position. 1 million now trying to make that dash for the finish. It is going to be eFlex to get blown to smithereens and sprayed to pieces. Knight, Chico. Still holding strong. Moa also just hunkering down, but out comes the utilities. There's not going to be much that can stop the spray downs. But let's see, the reach is being quite favorable in favor of the players here for one round. Up comes yet another another delivery of those. But Senke trying to close it up, because you can see that extra additional information getting relayed back on towards the rest of the players here from one round. So definitely looking to take down eFlex, as that additional information being provided onto one round could mean the end here. But up comes Lazy Boy just sneaking on forward, spotting out the opportunity. And now Chico down. Knight about to receive a bit of a molly action there. Moha steadily waiting up in the grass, waiting to see how this will unfold.
Yeah, both sides of these teams are running out of utilities, but hey, Lazy Boy knows how to make them used as we move on through. That connection is going to be there, and now one round, well, they're on the chop block. It's one-on-one action actually happening here. It's just Moa up against Senke and Lazy Boy for the winner chicken dinner.
Yeah, you can see now, it is going to be a lot of strafing going through from 1 million, trying to find that final player, and they do succeed in doing exactly just that. Walking away with an absolutely insane 11, well, that was 13 eliminations locked into their name there. So well done, well played, absolutely glorious finish. Of course, the players from one round also bring in quite a substantial performance here, but 1 million looking to rise to the occasion and, of course, capitalize on those 13 eliminations.
We finally got that one-on-one action that you've been alluding to for just days on end. So we finally had it happen. And now looking at this, of course, we have a little bit of a resurgence of what we saw in the first couple of matches from week 1. We had 1 million reigning supreme, and we had one round really starting to show that momentum yesterday. So all of that has culminated into a very surprising performance on Erangel, and a very good performance to see these teams stepping up. It's good to see 1 million once again making a splash, and they're looking to jump out of their 9th place into much higher contentions.
Yeah, but I'm loving the fact that one round, right, just stepped up, held up such a formidable force all the way to the very finish. But that is where we saw just the level of experience being reflected there in 1 million, right? They stepped up and they just owned that zone. Even though there were only 2 players moving through, going in a 2v4 situation, they were able to prioritize these angles and just stepped up. But of course, speaking about just capitalizing on absolutely crazy performances, we need to give a big thank you to our sponsors as well. So first up, we are going to be giving a big thank you to Oppo. So born to win, welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much loved Reno 7 series. And aside from Oppo, we also need to give a big thank you out to Monster Energy, our official energy drink partner right here for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues. And I do think that we just saw our own version of Monsters coming through, right? At the hand of 1 million.
Absolutely. So we've had such a few changes coming through into this week already, just in terms of the performances the teams have been bringing. So it's so good to see such a surprising set of circumstances that these teams keep finding themselves in and managing really quite well. I must say, I'm very impressed so far.
Yeah, very, very impressive plays indeed. But of course, as we are moving a little bit further afield, we are getting closer to seeing what those overall match rankings are going to be for these teams and how many points they were able to secure. Of course, we can see the players there from 1 million locking themselves into 28 points, 13 eliminations, one round, very close to that, coming in with 11 eliminations.
Oh, it's just so close. But it's good to see 1 million running away with that winner chicken dinner and a really good set of eliminations to boot, of course. As we take a look at the rest of the page, Wave Esports, Super Young Stars, and Zero Tolerance also making quite a bit of a splash with those double-digit points. Slime 4KT, unfortunately, not having the performance that we, would want to have compared to the crazy performance that 1 million in one round, threw down. But picking up points definitely is going to be a good thing. It's not at that point where 9 is too little because we have such a contentious overall ranking. It will definitely help them in a slight bit, but hopefully those numbers will start to, boost themselves a little bit up as we move into the rest of the week.
Yeah, only time will reveal what the teams have in store for us. But as we saw there, right, that one-on-one action coming into the very last bit of that game, absolutely amazing. But let's now take a look and see what the result of our first page has kind of brought into the second page, right? Mad Knight locking in those 3 points alongside the players there from Leaders Esports, who also find themselves sitting on 3. Desert Flame, Arab Golden, Triple Esports having a little bit of a tough run, but it was even more challenging for Darkness, Virtual Gaming, and Soul Esports.
Like you said, Soul Esports picking up those donuts. And like I said, donuts in this case is a very bad thing because it means 0 to your overall ranking. So Soul Esports, unfortunately, will be the so-called, I like to say, the sacrifice for Erangel, going down first with, unfortunately, nothing to show for it. But again, still opportunities lying in wait. We're only on day number 2, and even if they have played all of their matches for the day, which I'm not sure about, we'll take a look at the groups in a little bit, they will still have opportunities coming back Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, quite a few opportunities still remain. But what's going to be exciting is after today, we are going to be taking a day break and we will be returning back on Friday with more action. And as we saw in the previous week, that resulted in some absolutely insane games coming through from these teams. And of course, speaking about the insane games, right, we need to take a bit of a look and see what happened over back in Erangel. Just a beautiful reminder of how these teams came to acquire the points we saw them ending up with.
And we saw one round really having to fight for their location after location with either against Virtual Gaming or 1 million. You can take your pick. But what I really loved was this trap that Zero Tolerance set with the bridges, with the rotations. They knew exactly where some of the teams had to have made a push. They knew that their options were limited, and they set themselves up so beautifully with that 2-2 split that they obviously, ensnared the likes of Mad Knight. But even to the later phases, they found themselves picking up eliminations in the form of VSC Gaming. So a massive big brain play coming through here from Zero Tolerance, and I absolutely love how they transitioned that very, very crazy shift into an opportunity for them to really pick up some great, engagements and eliminations.
Yeah, definitely great opportunities being capitalized on right there. And of course, we are going to be capitalizing on a very quick break, so be sure to stay tuned and we'll be right back with our final match of the day right after. See you guys back in a few moments.
Stalemate? No problem. Ultimate Arena decides the victor.
See it in your eyes, lonely in the corner, waiting for somebody to come and save you from the cold of night. Easily goodbye. It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye.
Hello and welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall 2022 season. Of course, we are about to get ready for our final match right here on the second day of our phase number 2. So, of course, quite a bit of action. We've seen those winner chicken dinners come in across the board. But now we look to see who's going to be rising to the occasion. We know in the last match, it was 1 round and 1 million, going into a little bit of that one-on-one action to see who will walk away with that winner chicken dinner. We know what the result of that was, but as we move back over in towards Miramar for our third visit, we look to see who will be the team to rise to the occasion this time around.
Absolutely, and we don't have to wait too much longer, as we know the last game is already set and prepped. The plane is already taking off and taking a very interesting shift in terms of that rotational path. Once again, we find ourselves here towards Minas del Sur or Los Lejigos, but this time we're getting a little bit closer to Oasis.
Yes, it's not too often that we see a lot of teams really dropping up in towards, that Oasis position. I mean, there's one team that we've seen do that, and that was, of course, the players from Zero Tolerance Skills, who we have in the lobby this time around. So now I can actually talk about them and not say things and then they're not here. So let's see whether or not they are either going to be opting into that trailer park position or towards Oasis. Always quite exciting to see what they're going to grace us with once they start making their way on down. But of course, we do see our insane damage numbers coming through there from Teak, P6, and AXA. It is a full-on Titan domination with regards to damage and headshots.
I mean, are we really surprised? There's a reason they're
No.
currently sitting above 100 points. There's a reason they picked up 100 points in a single day of play. So, not surprised whatsoever. At least we do see the likes of Morteza there from leaders and a few of some great long eliminations from a few of our other teams making a splash. So, it's not fully Titans. There is still an opportunity for the rest of the teams to have a say in this action.
Well, speaking about having a say, right, we see the players there from Lag already finding themselves having to share Chumacera, yes, with the
Chumacera.
players there from Legends of War. I think there's going to be a healthy altercation for both these teams, right? Especially for Legends of War. We know that they're not going to scoff away from, opportunity at essentially garnering a few more points here. As we can see, mowing our 1v4 clutcher from back over in Miramar. Looking to see, oh no, that was over in, that was in Miramar. Yes,
That was Miramar.
indeed.
No, this
Yes,
is
yes.
literally a possible repeat of the mistake that Lag made earlier. But now
Oof.
picking up a fantastic elimination might be the opportunity for them to take this further.
Yeah, it could definitely be, and you can see Mowing getting ready. Right's got that Tommy in hand, locked and loaded and ready to roll as Flick now gets taken down. Fantasy almost getting that confirmation in, but it does seem like Lag is not going to be allowing too much of a repetition from the previous visit on Miramar to play through here.
No, hopefully not, because they definitely would love a little bit of that revenge. And I mean, what a way to do it! Taking down Merwing, who has now all resulted this and put all of the pressure on towards Powerboy's shoulders to try and hold the hopes and dreams alive, or keep them alive for the likes of Legends of War. But it's not going to be an easy one here for Powerboy to get involved. As we can see, that split coming through here from Lag. They still have all 4 of their members up and alive, and now potentially looking for the confirmation here on towards moving. So yeah, that's literally revenge right there. 1-9, just very happy to take that one.
Yeah, and again, that was you know, just a little bit of a repayment for what we saw Merwing doing on that previous visit, the previous instant. But Powerboy now going to be looking to just power walk their way back into safety, heading towards that eastern side. And then I'm hoping to see a little bit of a northern push, right? Because we did see that zone also now being situated all the way up in towards that northwestern territory. And that's going to be quite the zone, especially now for a team like 1 million. Because they are situated up in towards El Pozo, and they are pretty much uncontested at this point.
Yeah, literally so happy with their position right now. I mean, looking at the rest of the teams, again, VST there to Montenegro. We've got, of course, our Golden there towards a little closer, but well, a little bit of a split there between Creative Fields and La Cabrera. But ultimately, as we know, it is Miramar, so the space that 1 million currently have to hold, they are going to be very happy with themselves. We'll have to just wait and see how those rotations from teams are going to look like, because that might, throw a bit of a wrench in the works, as it normally does. We already see a few more teams just focusing on those earlier rotations. Before the zone has even moved in, we've already had the likes of Zero Tolerance and Super Young Stars starting to get closer to the zone.
Yeah, I'm loving these preemptive rotations coming through as the teams are, trying to be a little bit more proactive instead of, having to try and kind of react to the effect of that zone shift coming through. But again, Morteza, one of our contenders here with those grenades, is going to be taking quite a bit of damage as they're not just flying through and hitting right through the thicket of Triple Esports.
It is going to be a little bit of a difficult situation, but of course the cover is at least there to get the mez rolling, and hopefully an opportunity for Morteza to make a push, and they definitely need to, because Kimmo is looking for that line of sight or the angle to work with to just confirm at least one elimination from Leaders Esports, one number from Leaders Esports' camp out and for the count there. So just keeping an eye peeled, and at this point in time, I am very worried for Morteza.
Yeah, not the easiest, most favorable position to be in. But fortunately for Morteza, there is a little bit of a mountain or a hilltop in the way in which they can then make their grand escape. But Kimo does seem to be pretty persistent, not going to be allowing too much of an escape really to be played out here. As you can see now, Kimo searching frantically, looking for that opportunity. Does maybe spot out Morteza? Yes, indeed, spots out the vehicle, the smoke. But will that be enough for the longevity of Leaders? Up comes Wasted, bring in a quick little bit of a distraction as Leaders now look to push themselves back up into San Martin. Oh, but the tires all get popped right on down by Kimo. I mean, that is quite a skill.
Oh, this is what we need, and there's the cavalry, at least in the form of Wasted, moving on in to try and just recover their teammate here. Making a dash up that ridgeline, trying to keep the HP bars in check, but Kimo has been very dangerous in just the sheer ferocious energy they've been bringing into this contention. But for the time being, it will look like Leaders have managed their escape. Mad Knight, of course, here towards Mikado, relatively uncontested as well, right? I mean, if we're taking a look at the rotations, they might have Blackjack, eventually move into this territory from Los Leones, but it's not likely to happen relatively soon, at least not before Mad Knight have looted themselves up and are ready for that sort of engagement.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's still quite a bit that can change moving through the zone. But one change-up that we are definitely seeing is Desert Flame not really sticking to their usual location up into San Martin, right? Instead, they are going to be opting to play a little bit more of a northern position, moving up with that zone, ensuring that they can get themselves situated much more favorably. But I'm liking that slight angle being held here. Angelo also going to be just winging their way on down, looking to get themselves set up in these compounds. But again, Desert Flame, beautiful setup here. Buden coming through with that M249, and that lovely spray and pray this could be the weapon to utilize at this height.
No, absolutely. And I am really impressed by some of the teams just choosing to try and stick to the outskirts because, as we know, it is looking pretty crazy for some of these, for some of the positions, especially towards center zone. El Pozo and Creative Fields, and even the likes of Montenuevo now, all of a sudden is absolutely stuck to the brim with teams. So just trying to take a little bit more of a cautious approach might really pay in dividends for these teams as they move into this next phase of Miramar.
Yeah, well, let's see where they go, right? At this point in time, there's an insane amount of possibilities as to how this one can play out. But Blackjack, they're not going to be tempting fate, right? Even though Blue Zone has caught up to them, they're like, you know what, it's fine, it's fine. We're just going to make sure that we've got all the loot that we need, all the loot that we think we're going to require. And then from there on, focus on getting ourselves a little bit more situated. But it is going to be a little bit of a delayed rotation, and that could actually be working out quite favorably for them. What's not going to be working out, though, is this kind of a reverse positioning coming through here from Wave, right in and amongst the players here from Leaders Esports.
Oh, the turnaround is there from Carry Boy, just so hot on the trigger and so quick to respond with this aggression from Wave. But of course, now all the pressure is on Wave and specifically D3S to try and recover the situation, to try and bring some semblance of normality here for Wave, as unfortunately all of their players are down and their numbers are not looking too great.
Yeah, definitely not looking too great, but, you know, D3S, not... Oh, never mind. Right, down they go. It is going to be Leaders now just looking to come in with a bit of a vengeance there. And I'm loving the shock and awe approach, right? Just rushing on forward, and definitely a bit of a change up in the strategy that we've been seeing coming through from Leaders. So again, right, that adaptation coming in as the teams are just utilizing different skills and different strategies as they move through these games.
And they're going to continue to do so and keep us on the edge of our seats. Of course, we can take a look at Myths, taking a little bit of a later rotation here through Minas Generales and potentially ending up towards the outskirts of San Martin, but I would be a little bit worried, especially just the driving skills here from Titans. What are we doing here, guys?
I don't know, right?
What's happening?
Maybe testing out a few things here. Of course, now it is going to be up to the players here from Titan to see where they can get themselves situated. They are going to be rolling up alongside that western line, taking a little bit more of a scenic approach to their map rotation here, looking to just explore the region, taking the sites for what it's worth before they look to get down to business and, you know, just light up that lobby once again.
Oh, absolutely. Well, maybe. The thing is, I don't want to... I don't really want to force the issue for any of these teams because I feel like that answer to Titan's aggression, I feel like that answer to Titan's performance is right around the corner. Although for Power Boy, a 1-on-4 is going to be a bit tough.
Wow. Look at Buncher just being an absolute beast once again, right? Just clutching that altercation out. I mean, that was so close. Buncher almost getting knocked down, but fortunately for them, the rest of the team was there to bring in those reinforcements just in case it should be needed. But I'm quite curious to see why, or quite curious to find out, rather, why Venom would park their vehicle like that. Yes, definitely again, right? Even more
skills.
emphasis being put on these vehicle skills over in Miramar.
I just see skills. I see nothing else. Just skills. I definitely can't park like that in real life. That's for sure.
Oh no. No. Don't even try it. Don't even try it.
No.
Your insurance will not cover it.
My bumper also will not cover anything afterwards. It will be ripped right off. So as you take a look at the rest of the teams making their rotations in, of course, Myth being the next team that's going to be feeling a little bit of that pressure already. The HP bars have dropped and they felt some of that aggression coming through from Seoul Esports, who have given them sufficient warning that, this terrain is under the control of Seoul Esports and they would be hard-pressed to try and take it away from them. Rest of the teams also now joining the fray. It's Titans to officially step into the zone as we take a look at what that next phase might hold.
Yeah, it could be quite hopeful, especially for the team situated in towards that more central region, at least for now. But we are yet to see where that next shift is going to be taking us. Titans, meanwhile, Not going to be too phased. We can see them now pulling closer and closer to VST, but that shift takes us all the way up towards the north. And this is where things are going to get absolutely crazy, right? Looking at the elevation being at hand here, Arab Golden, Desert Flame already perched up high. And this is where, like, it's going to be that valley of doom, right? The teams rotating through on those lower positions. Oh, they're going to feel the pressure come through.
I do love the position though the Desert Flame currently find themselves alongside Arab Golden, just that high-rise position that they do currently hold. As you said, there's a Valley of Doom right up ahead of them. That means there's a valley of teams that they can continuously keep bullying into submission, taking a couple of eliminations here and there, and massive potential for the teams that hold those high-rise positions. We'll take a look at how that's going to pan out for them a little bit later on. But of course, as we take a look at these match rankings, Leaders and Lag currently leading with those eliminations.
Yeah, definitely starting to bring in those, starting to gain a bit of a lead. But up comes Zero Tolerance, just showing us how challenging this terrain is to try and maneuver around as the shots connect on through. It is Vortex to get taken down. Lord quickly trying to duck back into safety, but unfortunately, Vortex's fate is sealed. Now, Skydo, Lord, quickly trying to send out a bit of a response here. But, oh, if they peek that doorway, it is going to be Angelo ready to welcome them in. Meanwhile, Sin will be taking that rush, just pushing straight on towards them.
Arab Golden now in the fray here. Angelo just trying to stay alive, but we do have a little bit of a sneaky approach coming through. Sin and Co, of course, making their approach, trying to find an angle here, but they might have to pull back that aggression as they go for the res on towards Angelo. Still trying to manage their numbers respectively. I do like that, just taking a little bit of a breath, not forcing the issue and ensuring that their numbers are still kept at bay as we move into the later phases of the zone. We do take a look at Triple Esports and 1 million. Triple, of course, very spread out, very scattered in comparison there to 1 million Esports, but they also do have better numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, that is a strategy that could work out either favorably or disastrously, right? Depending on what kind of situation the team finds themselves in. And it is quite the favorable kind of setup to take, especially looking at where they are currently situated, trying to play that high ground, trying to play a little bit of the low ground as well, trying to cover as many of the angles as they can manage. But now with 7 Reef pushing on forward, it's going to be Lazy Boy just to cook up that nade, hoping to potentially find that trade as well.
Oh, just trying to keep it alive. 7 Reef is literally burning to a very crispy crisp. But of course, 1 goes down for 1 million. So that does mean it is the trigger for the rest of Triple Esports and potentially even Morteza to get involved and confirm 1 million back into the lobby. It's going to be Marshall here as the last line of defense for 1 million and looking to potentially get some reses popped on through. But Lazy Boy is ticking away at their life clock here.
Yeah, definitely ticking away at their clock. And they're not the only team who's having their clock ticking down, right? We can see a few of those plays coming through in the feed as well. But now Triple Esports trying to get themselves positioned a little bit more favorably. 7 Reef and Black 7 cooking up the utilities. Out they go once again. Lazy Boy is going to get confirmed on down. Marshall now about to get rushed. Up comes the push. Let's see, will Marshall be able to fend them off? Ooh, a dance around the van. And that is all that Black 7 needs to end it right there for 1 million, sitting back in 14th position.
Oh, it's going to be a tough opportunity now to move on forward because as we know, Morteza was in and around this area just getting information, just keeping an eye out on what was happening here. And now they know exactly what is lying at stake. Triple Esports, very, very hurt, very unfortunately injured moving into the next phase. And well, they could potentially pick up some beautiful, beautiful eliminations as Triple Esports have to make their rotation in. But Super Young Stars and Seoul Esports in the meanwhile have taken our attention here because it is a fight for the finish. It is a fight for control of this eastern portion of the zone.
Yes, and of course it is going to be the players there from Blackjack looking to contribute with their third-party players as well. But Twix now looking to see if they can find a few of those Molly placements to be, well, ever in their favor. But for now, trying to get their way all the way over towards Winky because they need to bring their team back into contention. But Seoul are going to be holding off on that full-on assault, but we see Myth moving in just towards the north there as well. So this is the whole situation just tightening up even more so as Raouf tries to send the nade out, trying to ward them off, create a bit of an opportunity, maybe even blast a bit of an opening here. But it is, of course, a quick moment of savior coming through there as Mord steps up, picks up Winky, and moves them back just into that hard cover. But ZF now not being so fortunate.
Oh yeah, look, you you have to make your choices here in these final moments, and unfortunately, not always are those reses actually going to be an option. But at least for the time being, Super Young Stars, they will get their numbers back up to 3 and try and recover those HP bars, and they have to do so quickly because all esports looking to take this final trigger, looking to take the final push into Super Young Stars.
Well, this could be that opportunity, right? Soul just continuing to send out that barrage, continuing to apply that pressure, waiting for that opening. If not, they are going to be looking to even create that opportunity, but they still need to be super cautious as to how they play this one out. Winky trying to just fend them off, but Soul, they've got this one. They've got the angles. And now all it turns into is going to be a little bit of that waiting game, but they can't sit around waiting all too long, right? They still have Blackjack up on that ridge line. Leaders also now moving in as we can see those shots connecting up. And it's going to be that pressure being applied on towards MG. Fortunately, not getting knocked on down just yet, but still a very risky position to try and hold.
Super Young Stars trying to take account of what's happening here. Oh, but Hemo sneaking in a cheeky little nade. They might make the connection to Messi, and it does. That is the opportunity now for Soul. We can see the movement coming on through. They know exactly what is at stake here. They have to make this final push. They have to eliminate Super Young Stars, or they might not have another opportunity like this.
Oh, and Mort now doing a little bit of a dance here with Hembo, but does succeed in locking in that knock. Now it's going to come that push from Twix, and that is the end of the road. The nade lands, and it has sealed the fate of the Super Young Stars, getting sent out, and off they go. Lock into that 12th position. But now Blackjack taking aim down on towards the players there from Leaders. Well, yet to try and get themselves situated much closer to that zone, as we do see the next phase is going to be shifting further up north. Ab Golden already beautifully situated, but this is where the contention is going to come through, right? Still a quite challenging position to be played out, but Lag now also getting absolutely obliterated as Desert Flame steps up to the plate.
I mentioned it earlier. I said Desert Flame have a prime position to get the rotating teams in this valley. Well, and to take them out of the count. So now picking up Lag, picking up potentially maybe even the stragglers here of VSG and Triple Esports, moving into that rotation, that northern rotation into the zone. Desert Flame, they have prime opportunity here. Blackjack, in the meanwhile, are now feeling the barrage of its utilities coming through here from Leaders Esports.
Yeah, and it's not going to stop anytime soon, right? We know Morteza being one of our heavy hitters when it comes to those frag grenades, but a little bit of an off-angle play coming through here. MG trying to get it locked in, but unfortunately, that spells the end for Blackjack as Leaders just step on forward so aggressively. But again, the third-party opportunity now presents itself here for Desert Flame, looking to bring in their contribution to the carnage.
Now, this is just a side step, a side story for them on their way into the zone. As we know, Leaders already having to deal with those HP bars, but now Desert Flame Esports choosing the perfect opportunity here to get that third party going. But they're still looking for those confirmations. They've dealt a lot of damage, but it hasn't garnered them any more points so far, and they still have to make that movement into the zone. And who's right up ahead of them? It is Titan Gaming, who could turn their attention here to Desert Flame and stop their approach into the zone.
Yeah, but again, right, the contention will continue as we are seeing all the teams are lining up on that southern edge. A little bit more of a alleviated kind of position being had towards the northern side. They're looking at the players from Arab Golden, but Titan still now trying to see what they can make happen up on the hillsides. Are going to be in hard pursuit of 6, but 6 has an answer to that. Sends out the nade. Oh, but not reaching all the way across. Meanwhile, VST will get backed on up, and off they go. Down to the final 6 teams we go. Titan, again, coming through with already quite a substantial amount of eliminations, but nothing in comparison to what we see Leaders currently sitting with.
Yeah, absolutely. Leaders have been running away with it, and they've managed to keep their numbers in check. Of course, now Titans looking to boss their numbers in the form of Desert Flame Esports, and Sixcon taking the wrong time to make a dash, make a jump into the finish. But Morteza, once up, once ready to just continue the onslaught that is the absolute domination Leaders are bringing into this. They're taking a piece of Titans, they're taking a piece of Myth, they're taking a piece of anyone and everyone moving into this final zone.
Well, Morteza absolutely on fire with that. We are down to our final 5 teams, but it is not the end for Titans just yet, right? Still going to keep themselves in contention, looking to bring in those reses But up comes Leaders now, looking to just double down, pushing forward. It is going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for them. Fortunately, we do see the players there from Titan now pushing further and further up as the zone has taken that shift towards the southern edge, towards the north rather. But here we go. The pressure now being applied on towards Myth as they get found out and backed up. Off they go. Down they are. And now, Leaders Esports sitting on 15 eliminations.
That is a terrifying number, if I'll be honest with you. And again, they have a really good option of taking even better numbers into the zone. But Black 7, I was going to say it was going to be the perfect opportunity for anyone to take out Leaders. But P6 steps in and actually is the saving grace for Leaders. They will be able to get those numbers up, potentially even that res onto their last remaining member. In the meanwhile, Titans choosing to take that rotation into zone. As we know, Arab Golden, they've been sitting pretty. Literally nothing to worry about up until now.
Yeah, but it is looking pretty crazy as we can see. Titans, Legends, looking to go toe-to-toe. Titans on 8. So many more eliminations available up ahead, right? They could still maybe lock in 5 additional to that, putting them a grand total of 13 should they succeed. But Morteza, not done just yet, is going to be just doing a little bit of a peaky job here, looking around. Titans definitely have the numbers advantage. So that just shows you how much of a challenge the Titans are bringing through into this latter stage of the game.
Oh, absolutely. Contention's running high. The pressure is not going to stop anytime soon. We can see Leaders Esports now having to make a little bit of an awkward dash here on the ridgeline, trying to get themselves into the zone. As we know, that high elevated position is in control of Titans. The compound, the only compound that's in the zone, is in contention and in control of with the Arab Golden. So they don't have a lot of options moving into this next phase.
Well, that's not going to stop them from attempting these plays whatsoever. Meanwhile, we do see Axa finding a spray right down on towards Morteza. Oh, but I'm quite surprised to not really be seeing the players there from Arab Golden reaching all the way up. Meanwhile, Shadow and also now falls, and that's the end of the road for the Leaders Esports team.
Oh, not the opportunity they were looking for, but hey, it has to happen, right? Someone has to go down. Now it is up to Titans and Arab Golden looking for this winner chicken dinner. As we can see, Titans with their superior numbers moving in on the position here of Arab Golden, who are looking to try and defend it as much as they can, but the split approach Titans are taking is making this nearly impossible to manage.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely challenging performance here. We got Puncher and Teak, 2 super aggressive players now getting ready to mount their assault. Up comes the utilities trying to create those openings. Puncher going to come through with a bit of a strafe. They're just trying to wrap around the nades. Rain on down. It is going to be carnage as Angelo and their teammate fall to the aggression. And with that, it is going to be none other than Titans locking in yet another winner chicken dinner. And they do indeed succeed in taking down the additional players left up ahead, pushing all the way to 13 eliminations.
So, are we saying that Titans have just picked up 2 winner chicken dinners, 2 winner chicken dinners, 2 days in a row?
Well, I'm not saying anything. I mean, I'm just, it's there, right? That's what just happened. I mean, we did see an absolutely crazy onslaught coming through. I mean, Titans, there's just something else happening there. I mean, this team is just absolutely blazing away as they push on forward. And while we process what we just saw happening on the screen, we are going to be taking a very quick break, and we'll be back with you shortly. Hello and welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League Africa Fall 2022 season. So far, we've been seeing an absolutely dominating performance coming through from one team. Before I say the name of the team, I have to put that in perspective, right? Last week, in our first week, after 21 matches being played out, we had Triple Esports walking away with 4 winner-winner chicken dinners, right? Now, as we move into the match rankings, we will see that one team in particular, Titan Gaming, has been able to lock in their 4th winner-winner chicken dinner in just 2 days in the second phase, absolutely blowing away the rest of the lobby, locking in those 13 eliminations, putting them on a grand total of 28 points for this match.
And again, what's blowing my one brain cell away is the fact that they're not just picking up fantastic points in terms of those winner-winner chicken dinners, right? They're not just picking up 15 points, but they're picking up close to exactly that number of eliminations in each and every game that they take away from the competition. It's not them just sliding in at the last moment and stealing it away from the competition. It is them dominating the entire lobby. Of course, we know Leaders Esports, the only team that could actually top them in terms of eliminations coming through with those 15, which is also just absolutely massive and something that seems to be a very consistent theme for Leaders Esports and their just overall performance. But the numbers start to dwindle very, very swiftly as we move through these match rankings. And again, I think that theme is going to continue when we take a look at the overalls. But I'm going to say just an absolute well done to Titans for actually managing to better the record that 1 million set last week with those 3 winner-winner chicken dinners in the first 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely insane performances we had. And now as we take a look at our second page, we can see what the rest of the teams were able to find. Of course, if you don't know, it's being dealt out there, handed out once again. 1 million finding that 1 elimination as well, and resulting in 1 point. But Mad Knight, Legends of War, Wave having a very, very unfortunate turn of events coming in there. But of course, Blackjack, VST, as well as the players from Super Young Stars, still locking in those points, right? Coming in with 4 points and 3 points respectively. But as we now saw, the absolute runaway performance coming through from Titans and Leaders so far, it makes them quite the force to be reckoned with, right? I mean, at this point, I think the only team that is going to be able to give Titans a run for their money is going to be Leaders Esports. And it seems like these two teams are just absolutely running away with their performances. I mean, we did see the sheer amount of aggression, the amount of eliminations being brought in. Leaders sitting on 13, 2 more than what we had coming through from Titans. But Titans have been doing that on a super consistent basis, not only today, but also yesterday.
Yeah, and not on a basis that neither of us could have expected after the first week of play. Of course, we know it was Live for KT that topped the charts, and well, now Titans said second place isn't good enough. They want a little bit more. Moving into today's games, absolutely phenomenal performances from all of the teams involved, but we can take a look at the overall standings just to see how exactly today's games shifted those overall rankings. And once again, who is it sitting with such a contentious and a consistent performance right at the top of the overall standings?
It's definitely not the team that used the water pistol, I can tell you that. But yes, Titan, 4 winner-winner chicken dinners in 2 days. 88 points coming in today. 100 points just yesterday. But Leaders Esports also making an absolutely exceptional push to the challenge here, right? Bringing in more points today than what they were able to accumulate yesterday. Yesterday, we know they ended the day on 66 points in total. Again, today, they just doubled those efforts, but pushed that extra little bit harder. Bring in a total of, if my math serves me correctly, 75 points, maybe? No, somewhere around there. Well, like, or 57 or something along those lines, but still an absolutely amazing amount of effort being shown by Titan and Leaders, and that leaves quite a bit of a vacuum behind them, right? We can see Seoul Esports 1 round still in contention with each other, but still quite a considerable amount of points away from that first and second place, and then we have yet another drop-off, right? That's where things start to even out a little bit more. We see 1 million, Super Young Stars, TEAMLAG, and Triple Esports. But Triple Esports making another push, trying to bring in that comeback. And so far, it looks like they are, finding that rhythm once again.
Yeah, Titan just 55 points away, leaving that gap something to be desired because, as we know, picking up just 100 points in one day, 88 on the second day, that is a ridiculous performance that they are bringing through. And taking a look at the rest of the teams, of course, on towards the second page, we can take a look to see how close it is still on this side of things. Of course, Lion for KT sitting up with 48 points, VST 1 point away with 47, Virtual Gaming 2 points away from that with 45, and it trickles down in a very similar fashion, 1 point there, 2 points there, etc, etc, etc. The teams are really on the side of the squad, and as we know, they just need to make sure they get into the top 12 to give them an opportunity to get another shot at Livik. But of course, the higher you are in the overall standings, the more bonus points you will be awarded at the end of the week. And of course, the better chances you give yourself for those overall standings, the overall standings, because I guess the total standings, we can call it that, from all 3 weeks, that will give you even more bonus points. So there is a lot to push for. And again, this just goes to show why every single game is important. Even Leaders Esports not picking up the winner chicken dinner respectively, but 15 eliminations, still going to make a massive boost to their overall standings.
Oh yes, it's going to be making quite a drastic difference. And of course, I got the answer to the math that I was failing at. The answer is 67. Thank you, calculator. But of course, as we look onto our third page, this is where we see the players from Blackjack, Zero Tolerance, Mad Knight, and Legends of War. But we are seeing a little bit of a repeat in results coming through for Zero Tolerance and Legends of War, right? We have in the interim seen the players there from Desert Flame moving out of this region. We've seen the players there from Darkness moving out of this region, but we are yet to see Zero Tolerance and Legends of War bring in sufficient performances to get themselves out of this area. But hopefully this day of rest is going to be allowing them that opportunity to bring in exactly that. But what's also interesting to notice is that we are seeing the players from Blackjack also then sitting over in this page, right? Definitely not a page that we are used to seeing them, especially not looking back at the kind of performances we had coming through from that very first week.
Honestly, I can't give a good reason for any team to sit on that last page, but someone has to do it. It has to happen one way or another. We will be seeing, hopefully, if these teams can step up their performances to the level that we know they're capable of. Again, there's a reason they're on this stage in the first place. There's a reason they're taking part in PMPL Fall Africa 2022. So we'll have to wait and see. It's all up to the teams, and once again, they have that opportunity, that day of rest, to do some VOD reviews, to do a little bit of just general conversation and discussion around what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and what have been the main issues that they feel they can polish coming back on Friday.
Yeah, and of course, we'd love to hear what your standout performance is from today, right? That moment that really shone the brightest for you. Be sure to let us know on social media. You can, of course, hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on TikTok. Be sure to include the hashtag there, PMPL Africa. I mean, you could also tell myself or Esproxy. Our social links are also on the screen. You'll see them momentarily. You can hit us up, tell us what your thoughts are. But yes, be sure to let us know what your takeaway is from today and what you could be expecting to see once we return with the action back again on Friday.
I am telling you that I am expecting a bit of a change up coming through from these teams, because that's exactly what we saw in the first week. As you mentioned, we had 1 million reigning supreme on Tuesday and Wednesday. Following suit on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was a completely different conversation, with Titans and Slime 4KT making a massive jump for the finish. Alongside triples, leaders, everyone stepped up their game significantly moving into that last couple of matches. So is that going to happen again this week? Are we going to see some sort of semblance of consistency finally? Because again, the question is, who's going to be that team to get the most points at the end of these phases, at the end of all of this work? Who's going to be that team reigning supreme at the top? So far, it's Slime 4KT, Titans, and Leaders Esports. That are those three teams on the total standings that I would say are in contention. But Slime 4KT has been having a bit of a troubling performance, because Titans and Leaders have just been stealing all of the eliminations.
Well, maybe one day of rest is what they need, right? To try and close that up and maybe come back even stronger moving forward. With that, I'm, of course, referring to the players there from Slime 4KT. But all will be revealed, right, once we get into that. But before we go anywhere, of course, we need to give a big shout out to our sponsors once again. So we're going to be starting off with Oppo here. Of course, we are going to be taking it away with Born to Win Welcome to the exciting match brought to you by Oppo. Get your gamer mode on with the much-loved Reno 7 series. Thank you so much, Ez, for pointing those out. Looking pretty great right there. And of course, aside from Oppo, we need to give a big thank you to Monster Energy as well, our official energy drink partner for the PUBG Mobile Pro Leagues. So again, an absolutely exciting day of action that we've had. Leaders and the players there from Titans just blowing us away with their performances. It seems like they've had a little bit of that Monster Energy, unleash your beast, right? Really putting that into practice as we saw them just coming in with so many crazy performances.
A monstrous performance, as you like to say, and they've been doing really good at keeping that sort of energy up, moving into the rest of the days. Maybe they did take a couple of monsters before the game started. Maybe they are also playing on an Oppo Reno 7 series. Who knows? They're bringing in their gamer modes, but it's fantastic to see the teams back at it again and bringing that contention, that competition, and the skills that have landed them in the stage in the first place. Only question is, how can they actually top that moving into Friday's games?
I mean, it's going to be difficult, right? It does seem like leaders are trying to break the standards in general, right? 100 points day 1, 88 points day 2. What are they going to bring through in day 3, 4, and 5? I'm sincerely hoping that we are going to be seeing someone step up and contest them, really putting a bit of a halt to those advances. Because even though it's amazing to see that kind of level of play come through, we want to see the rest of the teams rise to the occasion, right? It's not that Titans are running away. It's that they are just finding a lot more favorable positions to capitalize on, and that is working for them. And it seems to be a little bit of a shock and awe strategy, right? They are just coming in so overpowering that it is difficult for the rest of the lobby to kind of, come up with a good response and a good answer to that pressure.
They have been overpowering a lot of those final positions, as we saw there with that last Miramar. Moving into the final position there with Arab Golden, who was sitting pretty and had literally nothing to worry about. Here comes the entire squad of Titan Gaming, after taking out the entire squad of Leaders Esports, which, again, in Leaders, in their defense, they were in a horrific position in those final moments, just on the edge, just running away like goats, trying to keep their balance on that 45-degree angle, but they made it work, and they picked up some great eliminations right up until Titans obviously stepped in and said, it's ours. We want that winner chicken dinner.
Well, speaking about winner chicken dinners, we have to go claim our very own winner chicken dinner, as we are going to be ending it right here for this evening and bring all the proceedings to the end. So thank you so much to everybody for joining in. Really hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to seeing you all back again on Friday as we continue with our third day of action. Of course, big shout out going out to all our teams. You guys are absolutely insane. You are absolute legends. But we look forward to seeing you all on Friday. Stay tuned, and we hope to see you guys back again soon.
Find a good thing, have a little fun. And you gotta lock it down. Gotta save a little something for the next round.